welcome back to Passions Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the soap opera Passions. I am your regular host, Latara, back today with two of our very regular guest hosts, Karen, our legal eagle, and Dr. Eric Vera. I guess, you know what, Karen, do you have a doctorate juris?
Yes.
So you're Dr. Karen.
No,
Smith,
Karen
right?
Esquire.
Esquire. Okay.
Ooh, that's fancy.
I have to start saying Karen Esquire. Karen
That
Smith
is so
Esquire.
good.
Yeah. Because listen, y'all work hard. Not y'all, all of us, everybody works hard for the things that they accomplish. But you know, when you make an accomplishment like finishing law school, passing the fucking bar, and getting your doctorate degree. If I had my doctorate, people would call me Dr. Lee all day, every day.
I use it wisely throughout my actual life. So yeah, no, I do it though. But some people in academia, they're like, well, you really don't. I'm like, no, everyone else has been like, no, say it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm humble and I'm like, Eric, but I'm PhD. So it does. Yeah.
You got to let these bitches know. All right. So anyway, enough about everybody's education. Let's get everybody on this podcast educated on what happened this week. We're talking about episodes 811 through 815. Yes.
That is correct.
Great. Wonderful. Beautiful. I'm telling y'all, I'm saying this now, but watch me eat these words in 5 hours. It's going to be a short one. There wasn't much that happened, and it was a lot of recap, a lot of truly every episode started with the last 15 minutes of the previous episode.
Yep.
So, of 37 minutes or so, 15 minutes of each was completely pulled from the end of the previous episode. So it's there's very little to talk about, but we'll find a way. I know that.
There are some exciting things. I won't get to there right now, but there are exciting things. In addition, Crack is whack, and so is Crack Connie. That's all.
Crack Connie is whack. I can't stand that bitch.
Yeah.
So, with that said, let's give a shout out over to the patrons over on Patreon. Thank you to Munashe, Lisa, Sid, Randall, Hannah, Camelia, Jeanette, Eric, Fantasia, Sean, S, Larissa, Maria, Lisa, Jessica Jean, Laura, Karen, Uche, Paige, Casey, Garage, Tom Bergeron, Daisy, Shane, Kelly, and Taylor Harris Crane, DJ, and Kelly. Thank you all so much. I got a little tripped up there. It didn't flow as the way it normally does.
Well, to think how long that list has gotten over the years.
It's a nice little list. It's a cute little list. So thank you all for being patrons and hanging in there with me and having a good time. We've been having a good time on watch parties and game nights and different things. And the Discord is always popping. There's so much discussion happening on the Discord. So if you are not a member of the Passions Podcast Patreon, I'm
Mouse in the house.
Mouse in the house. Sorry. If you're not watching and only listening, then you should know that Karen's cat named Mouse has joined the chat. But
yeah, our honorary Patreon.
Yeah.
Mouse just wanted to know if Fluffy was in this episode.
No Fluffy, unfortunately.
No Fluffy.
But yeah, if you are not a member of the Patreon, go over to patreon.com/passionspodcast and sign up for whatever. Oh my God. Sign up for whatever tier you find most agreeable. And with that, on with the show. We got a, I wouldn't call it a really big show, more like a medium-sized show today.
Medium-sized show.
Yeah.
Medium-sized.
Yeah. But we're going to start this week with our Shawise storyline. I guess I'll give it this storyline is getting ridiculous. I mean, it was already just absurd and ridiculous, but it's y'all got to tell Antonio the truth.
They really need to.
This is silly. And I think the reason I'm already so frustrated with it is because I do know that this goes on forever, and he's just completely oblivious, and it's uncomfortable to watch. I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable with the stuff going on with him and Sheridan, and I am very uncomfortable with the stuff going on with Simone and Chad. We'll talk about that more. There's a new Chad, by the way. We got it.
Well, I have that noted.
Charles Divins, I think is the actor's name.
Yes.
We got a new Chad this week, so we'll talk more about that when we get to the fated couples and everything. Yeah. But I thought we had more time. I
really did too. He is the Chad I think of. No disrespect to the new Chad, but that's the OG Chad and
the real Chad. No.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about this Sheridan and Luis crap that's going on. We pick up this week and Sheridan successfully avoids fucking Antonio. So good for her. She did. You did it, girl.
Live to lay another day.
Yeah. And so she avoids like having sex with him by telling him like, we really have to go to this party. You need to go take a shower, yada, 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 whatever. She then makes a phone call and she's like, I know who I can call. Somebody who can maybe help me figure out this whole mess. This bitch calls Liz. I was livid.
Yeah.
Livid. Incensed is the word. Because how dare you call Liz and listen to what she says to Liz. She calls Liz and all she says, oh, by the way, Liz is at her hotel, peaceful, reading Hidden Passions, which was hilarious to me. And she was like very into it. She's reading Hidden Passions. Ring, 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 phone rings. She answers the phone. It's stupid ass Diana to her in her book. Because she doesn't know that Diana is Sheridan Crane.
Yeah.
And Diana doesn't tell her that, right? Sheridan doesn't tell her. She calls her and she's like, hey, it's me, Diana. I need you to come to Harmony right away. It's about Brian. I can't get into the specifics, but it's like life or death. You need to come.
Can you imagine you're reading Hidden Passions and you're just talking about Sam and Ivy doing it hot on the beach and then she calls you? Ugh. What a, yeah.
Yeah, what a boner killer.
Yeah.
Like she calls her and says, you know, I can't tell you what's going on, but Brian and I both need you here. And so Liz is like, okay, you know.
For what?
Well,
why?
And she doesn't tell her.
Yeah, I would have been like, I need to know. I'm not going. First of all, I don't have money. And here's the thing that a lot of us said, because we watched this episode on the watch party, which you can join us anytime by being on the Patreon and the Discord. But with that said, almost all of us in that watch party were like, send Liz a check first. Also, fly her over there.
Pay for her damn ticket.
Yeah.
You're a billionaire. Pay for her ticket.
Y'all are her employees and you just left. No call, no show for weeks.
You still have a job there to do. You have not to put in your 2 weeks notice,
At
Diana.
all.
That's right. I completely forgot about that. She should have hung up the second it was like, hey, Liz, it's Diana. Boot. No,
yeah.
I'm not talking to you right now.
At all. I was just very frustrated with the fact that she didn't give her any information and then so leaves it up to Liz to be like, well, this sounds like an emergency. I bet. And she tells her, I need you to fly your plane over here. Right? Like, I need you to fly here. Oh, good.
Liz have like Scrooge McDuck like adventures? Like, why does she has a plane?
Yeah, she has a plane. God. She flew them from the Bermuda to the States in the first place, to wherever they had that race. She was the one that flew them there in the first place. Yeah. She has a plane. Planes, trains, and automobiles.
St. Lisa's must be popping in the summer.
The girl's got a plane. She has
all that luggage.
Look, she's house poor, but she has assets, right? Her hotel is a money pit, but she still owns it, and you know she's got that plane, which is probably also a money pit, but she still owns it.
One of the guests left it there, and she had it in the lost and found, and then she finally claimed it. So
exactly. Also, I just want to say, I don't actually know what house poor means. I said that, but
that sounds like something Rebecca would say, and I don't know what the answer is either.
I'll never own a house. I don't need to know what house poor means. All right, moving on. So,
is it that you have a house, but you're still...
I think it's that you own. I believe that it's that you own a home.
Money pit.
But like you, I don't know. I don't fucking know.
I love when we do this though.
It's when you own a house, but you spend most of your income on the house.
Money pit.
Okay.
Yeah. Or like,
pit.
yeah.
Like your mortgage is high, right?
Yes.
Like
So
you
you're
own it, but the
paying-
bank
yeah.
owns it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a nice house, but you're driving like a car from the 90s and eating ramen noodles every night, I guess.
Yeah. But I'm so poor, I can't even be house poor. So moving on. So Liz kind of goes back and forth in her own mind after she hangs up with Diana if she's going to go or not. She alludes to knowing more about Harmony. She's like, Harmony keeps bringing me back. Every time I try to leave, something keeps bringing me back. She, I guess, decides she's going to go to Harmony. I mean, we all know Liz ends up in Harmony. So that happens. I'm only on note 1 and we're like 10 minutes in. So maybe, like I said, I said it'll be a short one, but sometimes whenever I have only a few notes, I feel the freedom to just kind of like,
I get that.
you know what I mean? Keep talking.
Freestyle. Yeah.
Yeah. So my next note is Beth is happy to take full advantage of the Antonio situation. Now, like Eric said earlier, we watched that first episode on a watch party. When we're on a watch party, I don't always take the best notes.
I get it.
Who knows what this note is about?
It was
what is
when didn't Luis call Beth and invite her to the party?
No, Antonio did. Now I remember.
Yes, that's what happened. Yeah.
Okay, so
he called and told her about
Antonio calls Beth.
Antonio calls Beth and he says, you come to the party tonight, right? I really want you to bring some pictures of you and Luis, pictures of you and Luis from high school so that Sheridan can get better acquainted with Luis. First of all, Sheridan was here and while you were gone. What makes you think Sheridan doesn't know Luis? I don't get that. I don't understand his like meaning behind, we Sheridan and Luis need to get to know each other better. Sheridan literally says that Pilar is like a mother to her.
That's what I was gonna say. No matter what, she would know who Luis, Teresa, and Miguel are. I mean, like, she would know Pilar's whole thing. Pilar basically raised the woman, so she would definitely know who they are. Whether they were close or not is left to be seen in his terms, but still, he would definitely know. They would know each other.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought he was like, I just want them to be closer. He does this all week. It's like, why? Why do you want them to be so close?
Just it's so out of character, especially with the Brian that they gave us. Like, he didn't want her with anyone knowing anything about her past, so now he's totally okay with Sheridan running amok and like just learning who she is. That's
and
weird.
Even when Luis was in Bermuda, even when they were like having their little mishaps in Bermuda, he didn't want her to meet him. He did not want her to meet him at all. And now all of a sudden it's like, you two need to be closer. You're gonna be family. You need to get close. Why?
Yeah, and the comments he makes later, he says stuff like, "Oh, Sheridan, aren't you going to kiss your brother-in-law or whatever brother-in-law to be?" Something along those lines. It's
my brother never told me to do that to my sister-in-law.
No, it's weird. It's weird. It's just weird. So, when Beth gets this phone call, she is thrilled. That's what that note is about. She's very happy to take advantage of this whole situation. She's like, well, I wasn't gonna. Well, she doesn't say it to Antonio. She tells him, sure, I can do that when he asks, because she knows that nobody can tell Antonio the truth, right? So then she calls Luis and explains everything to Luis. And he's like, no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to come to the party. Like, this is all messed up. This is so terrible for you. I'm so sorry. I know this puts you in a horrible position, but she's like, no, I'm happy to do it. Also, she argues with her mother in there a lot.
She's like, this is my chance to get Luis back, to which Edna's like, yeah, and I'm going to run a marathon. So she's just doing jabs the whole week.
Yeah, and Beth, at one point, is very important. At one point, Beth threatens to send Edna to a nursing home called Sweet Serenity that apparently has a horrible reputation for abusive orderlies and just general elder abuse and neglect, and like
Beth is basically like Shady Pines Ma.
The home Ma. Yeah. That's what I wrote that in my notes. She threatens to send her to Sweet Serenity if she doesn't, get with the program. And then that's when Luis and Hank show up to pick up Beth, because Beth has called and told them, hey, Antonio thinks I should come to the party. He thinks I'm coming to the party with you. He wanted me to bring these pictures. I didn't know what to say, so I told him I was coming. And so Luis and Hank show up to pick up Beth. And then they invite Edna, because Edna's like, oh, do the thing, Eric.
I don't know what she wrote, but she was like,
oh, well, day,
back in my day, I used to turn a couple of heads. And then, so then she basically is like doing like maybe, which I didn't know that was going to be her end game. Like, I don't even think she had that. She just was trying to ruin the evening and get Beth not to go. She's like, you're going to leave me here. And, and so she was doing all of those things, but she definitely, they are like, why won't you come? And I'm like, that was sweet of them to invite her.
Yeah, why?
I didn't know if she could. Yeah, I didn't know if she could leave the house, though. I really didn't know that in terms of her character.
She gets around the house just fine.
Yeah,
there's no reason Edna shouldn't be able to leave the house, right? Yeah. She's in a walker. It's not like she's bedridden. She uses a walker, and she gets around it in the house just fine. There's no reason she can't go to a party. So, but when she's like about to say yes, Beth walks over to her and starts to hum the Sweet Serenity like commercial jingle in her ear, because she sang it earlier, and so that's how we know what it is. She starts to hum it in Edna's ear, and Edna's like, oh well, I guess I better stay home. I shouldn't go. So yeah, that's what's going on with them. They get all ready and they go over to the party. Now let's talk about what's going on with Antonio. He's talking to Sheridan. My next note is Antonio does a lot of talking about Beth, and it's so fucking annoying. I hate him. And that's exactly what happens. He is talking to Sheridan, but he's like praising Beth in the most, I don't know. It was like, are you in love with Beth?
And I don't know if he was just putting some of his own guilt onto that. And it comes up later on in the week where basically he recognizes that he sees Beth as this incredible woman who made a choice to stay and take care of her mother. And I think he kind of has like this guilt that he goes into this later, but they're planting seeds that he's feeling guilty about a lot of stuff. I also noted that Mackenzie Westmore looks stunning.
Ooh, she looks
beautiful.
Damn good, honey. Her titties sitting up on top of her neck. Do you hear me? She looks incredible.
Screw anyone who told her otherwise.
Because she was too big. She looks gorgeous in that turquoise slinky dress. She looks beautiful.
And that Sheridan do, like that is how I like often remember her.
It was so interesting. This week we got like a montage, Luis and Sheridan montage, and it was a lot of clips from the early episodes.
Yeah.
And how I had forgotten how bad her hair was in the early seasons, and it looks so much better now where we are in the show right now.
And I will say, throughout the week, you're going to see everybody looks good this week. I mean, like, everybody's dolled up. Everybody's really
looking good. Everybody's looking good. It's a good looking week in Harm. They had to bring something. They had to at least give us some looks. If y'all not giving us story.
Listen, I've told you before, my mom always a fan of whenever there was a party going on in that show. New Year's, Christmas, just to see them zhuzhed up. It was fun to see the styles.
I love a party, one, because you get to see the looks and everybody's in different clothes than they're normally in, it's a little bit more elevated, but also I just love to see them all in the same room interacting. I like seeing, because at a party, you get to see characters who don't normally talk to each other, maybe have a short interaction here, a short interaction there, see something that they would not have otherwise seen because they're never in that storyline. So I do love a crane party, something where everybody's at the mansion. It just sometimes this right now is just moving a little slow, but that's okay. All right. So Antonio's talking about Beth and how great she is and how she's a wonderful woman and yada, yada, yada. I really don't care.
I think one important thing to mention here is Antonio starts talking about Lopez Fitzgerald's and their first loves. And how there's a big connection between that. They always wind up with their first loves and they can't get over them, stuff like that. And Antonio says Sheridan is his first true love.
thank you so much for remembering that.
And we're gonna
because I have it later in my notes because it comes up several times in these episodes.
It's a big theme.
They just made a brand new rule.
I want to be clear.
Yeah.
He's the only one saying it.
Yeah. No one has ever said this.
No one has ever said it before. Nobody else will ever say it again. He will be the only person to continue saying this.
And it would be actual lore if Teresa has been saying it forever.
Right. Teresa's not saying that. If Teresa was saying it.
She's obsessed with her first true love. Like,
exactly.
She would be saying it like that. She would be like, this is fate. This is on brand for the Lopez Fitzgeralds.
Exactly. She would be like, the Lopez Fitzgeralds always end up with their first loves, obviously, so I don't have to worry about anything. But she's not saying that. So, Passions, y'all not going to do this to me. You're not going to do this to me. But yeah, he sucks. He kept going. He kept saying, oh, yeah, the Lopez Fitzgerald way, we just always fall in love with we always end up with our very first love, and we never get over our first true love. He's like,
play the thing.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
He does. I really cannot stand him, and he does that so much this week. Us Lopez Fitzgeralds, we always end up with our first love, and Beth is Luis's first love, and you're my first love, Sheridan, and that means we're gonna end up together. But you're not Sheridan's first love.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't even know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about her. The first few things I would have been like, how was life growing up? What's your favorite you got all your memories back. What do you remember from St. Lisa's versus what do you remember from, they just ignored all of that. And again, it's soap opera logic. Maybe that happened off camera, but there's none of that.
Well, you know what? Go ahead, Karen. Go ahead.
She's in her late 20s or early 30s, I assume. So how is he's her first love? How does he believe that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, because she's his first love, so he thinks it must be true for her too. Although he knows that he's not her first love. She spent the last 9 months talking about her one true dead lover, right?
Yeah.
Like, he knows he's not her first love.
Oh my God, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, thank you.
On.
So that's why he's not saying anything about being her first love. He doesn't want to remind her that she had the dead lover before him.
Yeah, and I want to say Hannah on one of the patrons on Patreon, on the Discord, she made a great point about how when he found out, like when he was screaming and yelling and acting a fool trying to find out who she was engaged to, and then when she finally told him like, oh, it's Jean-Luc and he's dead, that he really just glossed over the fact that this man that she clearly was deeply in love with is dead, and that he didn't ask her, oh, are you okay? Nothing about her feelings. He was just gleeful, even though she's clearly having a hard time with it. Like, and he's horrible.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
One of the things I love about the podcast and the community in general is that we are pretty much all on the same fucking page about Antonio. We disagree about a lot of different things, but everybody hates Antonio.
Hannah is a passion scholar. I mean, bringing in all kinds of incredible research, data, analysis.
It's the analysis.
Yes. Yeah. But yes, he's horrible. This is exhausting. It's exhausting. And I mean, and this is why we're still stuck in the Shawi section, is because of how exhausting he is.
Yeah. So then they have some conversation about Latin music. Antonio says, it's so nice to hear Latin music again. You could listen to Latin music any fucking time you wanted to. What are you talking
erased
about?
Every essence of his Latinidad. Like, he totally erased all of that. And now he's like, he was playing white and now he's back, and it's just really it's weird. And it's just weird. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. And so then Luis and Hank and Beth all show up to the party. Meet up with. Go ahead.
Very quickly, Beth and Edna get into it. I mean, she physically pushes Beth.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. Beth pushes Edna and threatens her, and is like, "You're staying here." So but again, a lot of jabs here, calling her a Jezebel, you brazen hussy, you're going straight to hell. To which Beth pushes her, and she's like, "Oh, mother, you lost your balance." So she does refrain from going, but then she will make the choice to go no matter what. She does decide, I'm going. You know what? I'm gonna stop her.
They have decided to show us. I think here's what I think is going on. I said this on the watch party, but here's what I think is going on. Beth had become too sympathetic for the storyline they were about to write for her.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Luis has dumped her. Her mother's fucking horrible and is just mean to her for no apparent reason. They had to show Beth abusing Edna. They had to. They were like, we have to show people that this character, because she had become a very sympathetic character. Now, when she pushed Edna, I thought it was out of line. I did, but I also was like, Edna.
Some people can only take so much, and they result into those kinds of actions.
Yeah, basically. Edna was really pushing it. But then they show a second time when Beth gets physical with Edna too, and because Edna does something with her hand, and I can't remember what it was, but all I remember is that Beth grabbed her hand very, very very firmly.
It might be like a prayer. Maybe it was like a prayer thing.
I think maybe that was because it didn't seem like she was about to hit her. It was like, so, but she grabs her hand and yanks it down. And so they're showing us, they're giving us glimpses into Beth's, what they want us to believe is Beth's true character. And that Edna, it's like they're trying to make it where, Edna's right. Edna's right to be so horrible to Beth, but I still two wrongs don't make a right, so agree. I'm still going to be of the mind that Edna is fucking horrible. Like, you're not gonna be able to rewrite that for me. Like, if she was a sweet old lady, like in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, what's the sister's name?
Blanche.
If she was a sweet old lady like Blanche, sure, that's horrible, but she's not a sweet old lady. She's more like Baby Jane.
She's Baby Jane.
You could see the turn starting to come in Beth too, right at the beginning of this group of episodes. Something about the look in the actress's eye when she's alone with Edna and they're arguing. It's like, oh, here we go. Here's some crazy coming in.
Yeah, not only that, but the glimmer she gets in her eye when Antonio calls her and tells her to bring the pictures to the party, right? And that she knows she's about to do some deceptive ass shit under the guise of like, it's just because Antonio called me. It's like, no, you came here because you want to keep Sheridan and Luis apart. And, but nobody's going to see through her for a while.
Passions is setting up an inconsistency too, because Edna is so scared about going to the retirement home, but she's standing there and complaining about how Beth is leaving her in filth. Oh, there's dirty dishes in the sink. My nightgown is soiled, blah, blah, blah. So if it's the same as the retirement home, why not just go to the retirement home? Then you can escape your psycho daughter.
Yeah. Well.
I think they're trying to give her this like complexity in that she has a duty now to save Luis and Sheridan's relationship. Yeah. So that's why so she's making it her personal mission. Again, I don't like Latar was saying, this is not working out for me plot wise. I still think they could have done it a different way, but this is what we do here.
It's what we do here. Passions is extremely like binary, right? Like, you're either good or you're bad. I feel like, they try to have you say like, this is the villain, this is the good guy, right? And Beth, and it's complicated. And it's complicated. There's some nuance there for me when it comes to Beth for right now. We all know, a lot of us know where she's headed. There's no nuance in that.
Like you're saying, I'm seeing the eye twitch, her holding it in. Like, it's like Karen said as well. It's just like there are so many seeds here being planted about like Beth can't. She's going to be a desperate woman soon.
Yeah, I mean, she's already become a desperate woman, right? Like, this is. if this isn't desperation, I don't know what is, right? Like the fact that this man has broken off his engagement to you in no uncertain terms. He was very clear with you on multiple occasions at this point, has had a conversation with you where he says, I love Sheridan. I'm so sorry, but I love Sheridan. I hate that you're in this position, but I love Sheridan. Yeah. And you're still chasing after this man?
Yeah.
Girl,
Fantasia, if you're driving and listening, pull over, just breathe real quick, Fantasia. Don't just breathe.
If you don't look at Hank, girl, if you look in Hank's direction, please, somebody look in Hank's direction.
I like that the Hall of Harmony is like not into Hank. I mean, even Ross has somebody into him, but nobody's into Hank.
Justice for Hank.
Nobody's into Hank. It reminds me of that episode of Frasier. Nobody. You know what? Never mind. I'm not gonna.
I thought you were gonna say when Zombie Charity kissed Hank. I thought you were gonna go. Frasier is even better.
I forgot about that. Okay, so anyway, actually, Lisa from New Jersey, if you're listening, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The episode with Guy. So that's for you, Lisa. Yeah.
Well, hello. I hope you're well.
So anyway, there's Antonio. When Beth, Luis, and Hank show up, he, of course, is being very uncomfortable, making everybody uncomfortable. Because that's what his character is now, just a walking. What do you call that? A person who energy vampire. He's an energy vampire. You watch?
Brother, this guy sucks.
Yeah, stinks. Have you watched What We Do in the Shadows?
I've not.
Everybody should watch it. It's so funny. It's a show that's like a fake documentary, kind of like a la like The Office, but it's about vampires who live on Staten Island. Hilarious. But one of the vampires isn't like a traditional vampire. He's an energy vampire. So he like is a boring person who like drains your will to live. Just because you have to talk to him. That's how I feel about Antonio. Everybody who has to talk to him is just like drained. He drains your will to live every time he opens his mouth.
I mean, imagine having to lie to somebody every day. That would drain me.
Yes. Yeah. So Antonio asks to speak with Beth alone, and he takes her off to the side, and he says some nonsense about the two of them, Luis and Beth, and how they never got married. He says, why didn't the two of you ever get married? You know why they didn't get married, because you left. You know why they didn't get married. We've had this conversation. And she's like, well, it was, there's been other reasons, yada yada. And he was like, oh, is it because I left? And she's like, yeah, I mean, that's part of it. But she also tries to make him feel better and is like, but Luis is his own man. He made his own decisions, and you weren't your leaving wasn't the only thing that happened, basically. But she doesn't let on about Sheridan, obviously. And then he says some bullshit about Beth being Luis's first love, and that's such a big deal in our family. And, if I had never left, the two of you would have been married for years by now. I feel so bad. You know what? I think that you and Luis, you should get married any day. Or he's like, as soon. Shit. I remember, I didn't write it in my notes, but I remember when he said it, I was like, that's not up to you. It was like, it was almost like he was giving them permission to get married. He was like, you're welcome to get married.
That's what I think it was under the guise that they were going to have the double wedding, and he's letting them out of it. Like, you can get married already. Like, don't wait for us.
Yeah. And Beth looks at him and says, well, you know what? Maybe you should marry Sheridan. The sooner you marry Sheridan, that'll give Luis light a fire under his ass, basically, right? And she says you should set an example for him and marry Sheridan as soon as possible. And she says, instead of a big old wedding, maybe the two of you should just surprise everyone and just elope already.
Very smart.
Very, very smart. Very devious. Mm-hmm. Very devious. Antonio's like, you know what? I love that idea. That's amazing, Beth. And he says, but Beth says to him, yeah, but you should keep that hush hush. Don't tell anybody about that.
Yeah, don't tell anybody I told you that.
Keep it on the low. Keep it on the down low. Meanwhile, inside, Luis and Sheridan share a dance. Now, I want to say this. at the beginning when Luis and Hank and Beth showed up to the party, Luis walks over to Sheridan after Antonio said that thing that you said was like, aren't you going to give your new sister-in-law, almost sister-in-law, a kiss or something, right? Like, greet your, sister-in-law, my fiance, whatever. So Luis walks over to her and they share this like, it was like, to me, it was like one of the hottest things. This is the kind of shit I love.
But
are you talking about where they were speaking with their faces inches apart from each other?
Yes, I loved it. It was like his face was next to hers and they were pretending. It was like they were two spies, like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, who were trying not to let on to, the people in the room that they had this big secret. And I don't know, there was something so like, what's the word that I'm looking for? Not tainted. Tainted is the entirely wrong word.
Like,
no, forbidden. It felt like forbidden.
I was gonna say
love.
Scandalous. It was like,
yeah.
It's like, oh, this could be so scandalous because we shouldn't be doing this.
I was eating it up. And so after that, Beth went out and talked to Antonio. And then while they were away, Sheridan and Luis, they of course share a dance with one another. And it's not a tango. I thought I thought they were gonna do a tango.
No. Me too. I was sad. I'm like, come on, where's the tango music? Especially since they're having the party that's supposed to be with their quote unquote culture, even though we don't know exactly what their culture is. Which
I did hear a lot of Mexican songs in the background. So I will say that they are on theme a little bit more than they usually are. To piggyback on what y'all were saying, there is a Sheridan moment where she smells Luis and she's like, I'm ready. Like, it is so clear, like,
no, it was hot.
Take me to the cottage.
The whole thing, they're like illicit love affair right now. I'm all about it. I really want them to be able to just be together, but I don't mind these moments of them stealing time together. Like, I like that. I don't want them to have to do this for a long time, but them giving me that, at least it's feeding me something other than just like the pure anguish, right? I like to see them at least steal little moments of happiness and little moments of joy and little moments of sexual tension. I love it. Mm-hmm. Ooh, ooh. Do I have a good sound for that? Probably not. Anyway, because this certainly wasn't blum blum. I guess that's the best I got.
Yeah, you need a Saved by the Bell, Married with Children. Woo!
Yeah, I don't think I have that.
That was good.
I don't think I have anything like that. Best thing I got is the air horn. All right, so their dancing is cute, is lovely. I adored it. Julian comes to the party. He didn't want to because remember what happened to him at the last crane party.
They remind us that they're like, there's probably Julian's killer could be downstairs. We don't know.
Yeah. But Rebecca kind of like pushes him to go to the party, right? And because he especially doesn't want to have to face Sheridan because he knows what he did. And Sheridan also, when she's dancing with Luis, they talk about how they have their suspicions about Julian being behind the accident that caused her to quote die and get amnesia or whatever, right? And so, but then Julian,
let me just say that there's some writer in the writer's room let loose and made sure to write every racist joke they possibly could into this episode. There's a lot. There's a lot. I don't even need to get into them, but there's a lot.
There's a lot. Well, because Julian, looking at the decor and the people in the room, and he's got a lot to say, as he always does.
Yeah.
So, Julian doesn't want to go to the party, but he is pushed to go to the party by Rebecca. And at first he's like, oh, I don't know. I tried to kill my sister. If that ever came out, like, I'd lose my head. Everybody would kill me. And then he's like, well, there's no evidence. Nobody knows I did that. There's no evidence that I did that. There's no, how could they prove that? And he's like, Sheridan has no reason to believe I did that. So he goes downstairs and sees Sheridan and Luis dancing, and he interrupts them dancing. So big mistake, first big mistake. And then he's like, oh, baby sister, I'm so thrilled to see you. I'm delighted to have you back home. And she turns around and just slaps the shit out of him. I was like, yes, good for you, girl. She slaps the shit out of him. The room stands still. The night is not off to a good start for Julian.
Yeah.
The room stands still. Everybody's watching, waiting to see what Sheridan gonna say. She accuses him of being the person behind her accident. And Julian, of course, denies. He's like, why would I do that? I would never do something like that. But she warns him that he really will wind up dead if he utters a word to Antonio about her and Luis. She's like, if you say anything to Antonio about me and Luis, you really will end up dead. Oh,
and at one point, basically, Sheridan thanks him for her amnesia.
Did she? I didn't write that down.
It was sarcastic, but she basically was like, I also have you to thank for all these years that I miss. Oh, not to mention, I almost forgot my amnesia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she smacked the shit out of him. It was so good. Yeah. I love seeing Julian get smacked. I do. It's one of life's little pleasures.
He's so good at responding to him, too. His face of, like, dismay and shock.
So, like I said, night's not off to a great start for Julian. Then Antonio sees Julian, and we all know how Antonio feels about Julian, right? He's all revved up because he's had this conversation with Beth, wherein he is like, he's feeling guilty because he's like, I ruined Luis and Beth's relationship by leaving, but the only reason I had to leave was because of what Julian did to me. So by extension, he ruined Luis and Beth's relationship. He ruined my brother's life. And so he goes up to Julian. Antonio sees Julian from across the room. He has like murder in his eyes. And Julian sees that and he's like, you know what? I need to leave. I can't be here. Smart. Honestly, you're right. He was right in the beginning. I don't know why he listened to Rebecca. Why are you listening to Rebecca? She tried to kill you too. Why are you listening to Rebecca? You don't even need to be in this house at this point. Go somewhere. Go to the country club, the Seascape, the Blue Note. Go do something else. Except for be here. Everybody in this town hates you. And especially these Lopez Fitzgeralds. And all of them are here. With the exception
and the
of
house is calling with them right now. Truly.
But so Julian is like, I gotta leave. I can't stay here. But Antonio follows him and attacks him. Julian's having a bad night.
And again, we're scared to shock him to death. He's trying to murder people right now. He's fine. You can tell him the truth.
He's faking it. And Eve is helping him.
Yeah.
No, he's not faking it. But yeah, it's like he can get worked up about Julian. He got worked up talking to Beth about, Luis and their relationship. So like you said, he's fine. Tell him the truth.
Yeah.
Like I've been saying, give that man some drugs.
Do you want a sedative or something to quiet your nerves?
Give him some drugs, sit him down, and tell him the truth.
Yeah.
So anyway, Antonio follows him. What's up?
The party don't start till Edna walks in.
And she's coming. She's on her way. She decided she's going to go to the party, but we're going to finish this first.
Oh, okay.
So
we were Antonio, there. Sorry.
No, not yet. Antonio follows Julian, attacks him, kind of pushes him up against a wall. He tells him, I'm putting you on notice. I'm paying you back for ruining my life and the life of my family. And then that's when Julian, he like lets him go, and Julian leaves and goes to his, he talks to Rebecca. And Rebecca asks him, what did you do to Antonio? You never told me. He refuses to tell her, saying, you really don't want to know. And she's like, it's worse than, I already know that you tried to kill your sister. Is it worse? Could it be worse than that? And
that was so good.
It is. Apparently, whatever he did to Antonio is worse than him trying to kill Sheridan. That's what they are trying to make us believe. So whatever. I don't know if we ever find that out. I don't recall finding out what happened.
Will say, if I remember correctly, my impression of watching it the first time was it's about Martin. It's about like the idea that maybe Julian had something to do with Martin's disappearance. right? Like,
well, I always thought that Antonio's disappearance or Antonio leaving and Martin's disappearance were connected.
That's what, yes.
I've always thought that, but they don't make that clear. Like it seems that way at the beginning because Pilar is lighting two candles for these two people who left around the same time. One disappeared, and then a few months later, or a little while later, Antonio left. But they don't ever say that those two things are connected.
They're walking that back. I feel like they're walking away. They're separating these two things.
So anyway, Antonio and Beth go back to the party together, and Antonio tells Luis that he thinks that he and Beth should get married ASAP. He's like, I'm totally behind the two of you getting married. He's like, again, don't need your permission. You haven't even been here. Stop trying to act like my daddy. Get the fuck out of my face. And then Luis asks to talk to Beth, and he takes her to the side, and they're alone, and he apologizes to her profusely. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I put you in this position. It must be so uncomfortable for you. It must be so awkward for you. You're amazing. You're wonderful. And then he like gives her a sweet little forehead kiss, which I thought was crossing the line personally. Because don't kiss me on the forehead. Don't start something you can't finish. Do not get me going. Okay.
And Sheridan sees it too.
Yeah, Sheridan's watching that, and even though she knows exactly what's going on, Antonio is like in her ear saying like, oh, look at Luis and Beth. Don't they look like two people in love? And he says to her, what did I tell you about the Lopez Fitzgeralds and our first loves? Have you ever seen a more perfect example of true love? And Sheridan is watching, and she gets like very uncomfortable and starts to feel very insecure about that. Then they have a random conversation about Catherine Crane. And I was like, why are we bringing up Catherine right now? But then Sheridan's like, I'm worried that I might die young like my mother. I forgot that was one of Sheridan's things. Yeah. Like, they had let go of that. Like, that was one of Sheridan's hang-ups at the beginning, that she was like, I think I'm going to die young like my mother.
And you know what? If I were Sheridan at this point in my life, I'd be like, I'm never going to die. I've been buried alive. I've been blown up. I'm good. Ain't nobody going to kill me.
She's invincible.
Yeah. Bitch, I'm Superman. Are you kidding? Look, hell, Superman even died. Now I'm good. I'm back, baby. I'm back, baby. No, she. If I was Sheridan, I would truly be like, I'm immortal. I am a golden god. Like, you're absolutely right about that, because she has been back. She's had more comebacks than Cher.
Yeah.
So, anyway, she's feeling, she's having all these like feelings come up. She's feeling insecure about Luis and Beth, and then she's worried that she might die for some reason. It's like, you just got back from being dead. You're fine. You're fine.
You survived a car crash in Paris. Did we bring that up? Remember? Because she thought she was going to die like Princess Diana died when she died young.
Yeah.
Another person who died young, Sheridan has avoided that.
Yeah, she's fine. Anyway, Sheridan's just feeling very insecure about Luis and Beth being his first love. And so she talks to Gwen about it. And Gwen assures her that Luis loves her and not Beth. But Sheridan is still like very insecure about Luis and Beth. Now, let's talk about Edna. Edna shows up to the party. She's decided to come up and turn the party, baby, in her house coat and her slippers.
I love how they didn't want to let her in. She was like, I got a personal invitation. So yeah,
Phyllis answers the door and is like, can I help you?
This is usually safe for Tabitha, so it is funny to watch somebody else be.
Tabitha looked fabulous.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
Do you hear me? I loved what she was wearing, that Muppet coat. I loved it. Walking
Eric,
around in the
skin
of Snuffleupagus. I love her. I loved it.
Eric, now you've got the Kesha song in my head. We're talking about Eric.
Wake up in the morning feeling like Edna Wallace.
Uh-huh.
Grab her glasses. She's out the door. She's going to hit the city.
Yep. She's going to hit the Crane Mansion. And that's what she did. So yeah, she shows up to the Crane Mansion, and Phyllis doesn't want to let her in at first. She's like, "Who are you, and why are you here?" And she's like, "Oh, my daughter's here, you know," and whatever. She comes in. I mean, the whole fucking town's here. So there's no. I don't know why Phyllis was being so silly about letting this old lady in. Yeah. Then again, maybe we should have left her outside because she apparently is not wearing her diaper. So
this was so gross and stupid.
Oh, I loved every minute of it.
Unnecessary.
So
why does this have to happen?
Anna comes in and immediately starts being like cock blocking Beth hard, right? And is being just like generally obnoxious.
Yeah, she's like, "Hey, Bethy, yoo-hoo." And so she's like, "What, do I embarrass you?" She's like, "Mumsy's here to ruin the party for you." Then the men are like, "Miss Wallace," they're genuinely happy to see her. And she starts to have this conversation. She's like, again, talking about how she turned a few heads. She's like, "You bet your sweet Bippy I was a looker." And she's like, "You know, some people say you start to look like your mother in their golden years." And so she's like, she's so self-aware that she does not look the greatest, and she's trying to tell Louise, like, "You end up with her, you're ending up with me, basically. Like, this is what you're gonna get, homeboy."
Yeah, it was great. It was a nice little tactic. It doesn't work.
No, and Beth definitely is like, "I've always said that we don't look like each other, so I'm not worried about what you're saying."
Beth is like, "We are nothing alike. There's nothing about you that's like me at all." Yeah. And then while she's there kind of being obnoxious, she's sitting down, and then she's like, "Uh-oh, I had an accident. I wet myself, and oops, I'm not wearing any diapers because Beth didn't go to the store and buy me any. I told her I was out, but she didn't buy me any new ones." And then she's like, "Oh no, the chair is soaked. Julian is here for this."
Who is this bag lady?
Yeah, he was like, "That's an antique."
Yeah. And you know what? Beth does a really good job acting wise in this. She's mortified. She's like, "I will pay for this." And he's like, "That chair has to be like restored by like a fucking professional. Like, you can't, this is just not." He's like, and she's like, "Oh," she's like, "I soaked it through. It's soaked through into the chair. Like, it is in the chair." Yeah. And we are led to believe that she did this shit on purpose.
Yeah, it does seem like this is the way I kind of read it. We know that Edna is like incontinent, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, why would she need diapers? We know she's incontinent. I think she knew she would come to the party and pee
fully loaded.
Yeah.
And fully loaded.
I think she knew that was a distinct possibility, but the whole point of her going there was to like embarrass Beth. So that's
and drive a wedge, because she also does say this to Luis at some point. Antonio is embracing Sheridan, and he says, "Oh, well, when a man holds a woman like that, the way he's holding Sheridan, he's got one thing on his mind." So she keeps trying to let Louise, and she tells Louise, she's like, "Louise, she's your one true love. Don't you let anyone get between you two." Exactly. So she's definitely she had a mission to go shoot her shot and shoot her shit.
Thank God. At one point, she said something like she peed on herself, and then she did like another like and it was that the chair was soaked. But I was like, I hope this lady.
I thought I did too, and it was. She knew she didn't have a diaper and it went through to the chair.
Yeah. Thank God. I was like, the pee is bad enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Julian says he says some racist stuff, and he just made me laugh that he said there's a mariachi band running amok, because that band has like followed him around.
Yeah. Yeah. Bless his heart. So with Beth is very, very, very embarrassed, as she should be. I mean, this is truly mortifying. I can't even imagine. Oh my God, I can't even imagine.
Because it's a black tie affair too. Like everybody looks.
Everybody looks nice. Her mom showed up in her nightgown, and
I will say, Beth says, "You have something suitable for this. Like, you actually have shit."
Yeah, but Edna wanted to make as big of a scene as possible. Yeah, which is why she came dressed the way she did. So Beth is very embarrassed. She tells Louise, I'm so sorry, I'm gonna take Mother home. And Beth is like, I'm sorry. And Louise is like, don't you dare. You should stay here. You should have a good time. Because earlier in the night, Beth was talking about how she doesn't get to go out and have good time and, whatever. So Louise is like, I'm going to go get her some towels. You enjoy your night or whatever. And so that's basically kind of where we end it with them. There's some stuff with them in magic that we're going to talk about in magic. Everybody has basically a little fantasy, I don't know what you would call it, a vision in magic, and we'll talk about those when we get to magic. But anything to add here before we go on? Look at that, we talked about that for an hour almost. I told y'all, I knew I was gonna eat those words.
And I love Edna, so I'm just always gonna harp on those things because they're fun.
Yeah. All right, well, now we're going to talk about our fated couples storyline, and I think I found a good sound for this now. Let me see if I got it. Let me see if I got the right one. It's because it's just so much trouble. Could y'all hear that? Was it loud enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Down. Yeah, I feel like that's
a revelation, or when you like Ethan's father is Sam. That's when you, yeah.
So let's talk about these fated couples, I guess. God, this is such a mess. There's not much to talk about. This won't take long. I mean that. I actually mean it. We're going to pick up with Chad and Whitney. Oh my God. Whitney's getting ready to go to the party. Everybody's
this was so annoying.
Yeah, this was irritated the fuck out of me. Whitney's getting ready to go to the party. She fantasizes about Chad. We skipped the new Chad. I wrote my notes. There's a new Chad. We've got our new Chad now.
Charles Divins, who I see on Spectrum News almost every morning here in the Austin area.
Yeah, he's a newscaster now. So she's having like a fantasy about Chad coming to pick her up in this dress that she wanted to wear, and him telling her how beautiful she is. In the middle of her little fantasy, Simone bursts into her room without knocking, just bursts in all frantic and frenetic, hair in rollers. She's like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And then she goes like rummaging through Whitney's closet. And she's like, where is that pink dress? The pink dress you just bought. Bitch, I don't know. Why the fuck are you looking for my brand new pink dress, ho?
I'm happy that you said that because I don't have a sister, but I know siblings. I just don't think anyone lets this fly by and you get to wear what my brand new dress that I got for myself.
You think so, but let me tell you what happens. And then we'll talk about how this should have gone. Simone, because she bursts in, she doesn't even look at Whitney. She doesn't talk to Whitney. She doesn't say hey to her. She goes, makes a beeline for Whitney's closet, rummages through it, looking for Whitney's dress. Whitney happens to be holding the dress that Simone wants. Simone turns around, sees her holding the dress, and is like, oh, that's the one. You don't mind if I wear this tonight, do you, Whitney? Bitch, I'm clearly holding it. I obviously was going to wear it myself.
They let her run. They just let her do whatever she wants. This family's Simone is their problem.
Simone is their problem, but they have made her everybody's problem. She's everybody's problem now. And Whitney just lets her. She doesn't say anything.
But they've turned Simone into this like shrieking, giggling person, this little vortex of energy running around Whitney's room, so Whitney doesn't even have time to say anything to her. That's how
they wrote it. Yeah, that's how they wrote it. These two girls live in the same fucking house. Your room is next door to mine. I'm following you and taking my dress back. Yeah, right. Like,
give me my dress back. I'm wearing it.
It's my dress. No, the answer is no. Fine, you have all your own dresses. Also, Whitney is like, I don't know, 4 inches, 5 inches taller than Simone. You know, I'm not saying they couldn't necessarily fit the same clothes, but a gown would be, I feel like Whitney's gowns would be a challenge for Simone, but that's just me. Anyway, That pissed me off. I thought it was very annoying. And like you said, Karen, yeah, they just turned Simone into like this whirlwind of delusion, running in and running out. And so we are meant to believe that Whitney just didn't have the time to react. But she didn't say anything afterwards. She didn't follow her like, hey, like a sister would. Like, no, you can't just take my stuff. It's mine. Sisters fight about smaller things.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So anyway, Chad shows up. TC's all like, oh, Sugar Bear, take a picture with Chad. And he puts them together and makes them take pictures like they're going to prom.
It's so
Their
weird how
first
everyone's
big date.
Yeah. Yes. So weird. It's so weird that they are all of them are joining forces to con Simone into believing this is correct.
Except for Eve. I'm going to give Eve props this week.
Yes.
I'm actually going to give Eve props this week. I don't know if Eve did anything this week that I would call her a villain for, which is rare because most times she is doing something, but she wasn't doctoring this week. So
Eve got to be Eve for a little bit. Like,
she wasn't Dr. Russell. She was just Eve. And so she wasn't being a villain as much. So I'm going to give her some props because Chad shows up. TC makes Simone and Chad take pictures like they're going to prom. And then there's some talk about a tennis tournament. TC shows Whitney like a brochure for a tennis tournament. And it's like, this tournament's next week and you're going to drop dead. You're going to kill him, kid. You're going to do great. You're going to be a champion. You're the best around. And then they all go to the party. Like that's that. And then they all go to the party. At the party, though, Eve looks at Whitney because Whitney gets there. She's looking for Teresa. Phyllis tells her Teresa's up in her room. And so Whitney also is in a lime green dress and is making it look good. There are very few people who could put on a lime green dress and really pull it off. But Whitney is making it look good. But I feel like they put her in that lime green dress very, very intentionally, right? Because she goes up to Teresa's room to talk to Teresa because Teresa has not come down yet. And Eve notices just her daughter's demeanor. She notices that Whitney's a little sad. She's like, God, Whitney's so sad. And TC says she's in the best shape of her life and she's going to do so well in that tournament. What do you mean she's sad? She's not sad. She's in the best shape of her life.
What did you hear Eve say? Not she is not fit. She is sad.
Yeah.
How do you equate those two together? That man.
And Eve correctly comes back.
This guy stinks.
He's horrible. He's a
Eve
bad
correctly
father.
comes back at TC and she says, you could be talking about yourself when you talk about Whitney and her tennis.
Yep.
Are you encouraging Simone and Chad to be together because you want Whitney to focus on tennis?
That's exactly
what it is.
That's exactly right. Because he says something about, look at Simone and Chad. They look so good together. They're so happy together.
And can I say, please correct me if I'm wrong. That side ponytail makes Simone look like a littler girl than Cracked Connie. Like it's really weird for me to see them together. They don't match well together.
Let me tell y'all something though. Well, especially with this new Chad, he looks more mature than Don did.
Yes.
He looks older. He looks more mature. Not like in a bad way, but he looks like a grown man.
Yeah.
And she looks like a teenager. And and Don, he was kind of riding that line of like 20, 21 looking, whereas Charles really looks 25. And so I agree. They do look very mixed matched together.
Yeah.
I will say though, I guess I was a child. I used to rock a side pony so hard. I used to love a good side ponytail. But again, I was a teenager. Yes.
It just made her look like a littler girl than she really is. Or she is a young woman, but like, it's just weird. It looked weird to me. Yeah.
So, TC is looking at them and telling Eve that Simone and Chad look good together and they're so happy. And he says, I don't know, TC. I always thought that Chad liked Whitney and I thought she felt the same. He says he doesn't even really look at her. He just goes, well, you thought wrong.
And this is bullshit. It is bullshit because this is our misery moment where Kathy Bates goes, this is bullshit. They cheated us. I mean, he knows Chad asked for the permission to date Whitney. They both were there and he is ignoring it and Eve remembers it. It's really the writers. You cheated us. Cock-a-doodie car. I mean, like, it's just really annoying.
Yeah. So yes, absolutely. They're cheating it. They're cheating. This with TC and Eve. But Eve remembers. Eve knows exactly what happened. Eve knows exactly what happened. So yeah, she says, you know, I always thought that it was Chad and Whitney, not Chad and Simone. And TC says, well, you thought wrong. And she says, maybe, but do you think maybe you're pushing this? And he says, why would I do that? And she says, so Whitney won't go out with Chad. And I'm so glad. I was so glad she spoke up about this. I was so happy to see her speaking up about this. As a matter of fact, thank you, Eve. Yes. Speak out. Say something on behalf of your kid. And TC, of course, denies the allegations. And he says that Whitney isn't interested in Chad. She's totally focused on her tennis. And one day she's going to be a champion. And Eve says, you know, I don't want to argue with you, but I'm going to argue with you. I love that. I don't want to argue with you. But do you realize that whenever you talk about Whitney and tennis, you could replace her name with yours? And then TC says, well, Whitney loves tennis. It's her life. Why would she spend all that time at practice if she wasn't on fire for the game? And Eve says, because she loves you and she wants to make you happy. And he is like, I don't want to hear this. And he walks away from her saying, I don't need to listen to this. Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
He sucks. I hate him. It's like she's telling him the God's honest truth and honestly just giving him how she feels and what she's seeing. And he's just negating her emotions and her feelings altogether. And she remembers, and he does too. He's just in denial.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does too. He's just in denial. So yeah, he walks away from her, and we will have some more TC. Oh, we've got some more like TC and Julian stuff that we'll talk about. Or sorry, TC. My God, TC and Eve stuff that we'll talk about more in the troubled marriages.
Yeah.
Okay. So Whitney has gone upstairs to talk to Teresa. When she gets up there, Teresa tells her, you got to tell Simone the truth.
Yes.
Like, you got to tell Simone the truth. You know, that's her advice. And it has been her advice. It's good. And it's good advice. Yes, you have to tell Simone the truth. And you can't just give over Chad to your sister just because you're scared of her feelings are going to get hurt. Like, so that's pretty much everything that happens with Chad and Whitney beside. Well, did they even get a vision? They didn't even get a vision.
Not yet.
Yeah, we didn't see their vision. So that's really it for them, with the exception of you got something to say, Eric?
Yeah, two things. One, at some point, Whitney will make her way back downstairs, and they will say something like, Simone says something like, I love Chad. Like, Chad is my tennis, because tennis to Whitney is the love of her life. And it was just so stupid to hear out loud. And it's just, again, written to confirm what TC's been saying. Also, at some point during these like glances at each other, Celito Lindo is being played. And so that is a Mexican, that's a Mexican song, a Mexican folk song. Most people remember it as Ay, 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 ay. That's like the song that everyone, Canta y no llores. And so that is what's playing. So I'm like, okay, Passion's got something right. That is a Mexican song if we are making the Lopez Fitzgerald's Mexican.
All right. But they're trying to. They haven't said it. They won't commit to it. They haven't committed to it, but they're at least getting the references right for the future. And I appreciate that now. So yeah, at one point Simone says that to her parents. I did forget about this portion. Chad and Simone talk about the two of them, him trying to find his real parents. I forgot about this.
Oh yes, yeah.
And I forgot about this because Passions had forgotten about this.
Yes, we don't get reminded until we get our visions.
I totally have forgotten that Chad's whole storyline, the reason he's in Harmony is because he's there to find his parents. Simone, you know who didn't forget? Simone's like,
hey, you know what? Credit where credit is due.
Yeah. Simone's like, yeah, and I know you came to Harmony to find your real parents, and I told you I would help you, and I mean that. We're gonna find your real parents. And yeah, I had completely forgotten about that. Completely. And so then Ethan interrupts to save Chad from Simone, and they talk about Simone, and Chad says, you know what? Now I see where Whitney is coming from. I don't want to hurt Simone either. All because she remembered that he's in town to find his parents. He's like, she's a nice kid. She's a good kid. Simone does go over to talk to her parents, and she's gushing about how she finally has something that Whitney doesn't. Chad, a boyfriend. I finally have something that Whitney doesn't. A boyfriend. And Chad is my life. He's my life. He's to me what tennis is to Whitney, my whole world. And her parents stand there and neglect to correct her in this insane way of thinking. Girl, if my child came up to me and was like, there's two issues here.
Yeah.
There's a number of issues here. But the two big ones for me as a parent is my child comes up to me and says, I finally have something that Whitney doesn't. Why are you comparing what you have to what Whitney has, right? Yeah. Like, y'all with two different people, that smacks of jealousy, that smacks like, what am I doing as a parent to make you feel that you need to be competing with your sister, right? That's number one. Number two is that what do you mean this boy is your whole world? He's your life. No. Let's get you a life. Let's go get you a life, baby. Yeah. Let's go get you some hobbies. Let's go get you, come give mama a hug. Because what about us? Also, I'm your parent. What do you mean he's your whole life? What about me? What about me? Not to be that narcissistic parent, but what about what I need? Yeah. But yeah, she does that, and they don't say anything to her. They don't say anything to her about it.
They're like, yeah, you're correct.
That's such bad parenting.
Yeah.
And TC seems to be like super into it.
Yeah, TC's like,
at least
go get it, Sugar Bear.
Yeah,
at least Sugar Bear
looks a little uncomfortable with it, but yeah. So that's all for the Simone, Chad, and Whitney stuff. Anything to add there? My notes were all mixed up.
Nope.
Okay. So now let's talk about Teresa, Ethan, Gwen. There's very little to talk about here. Teresa's getting ready for the party when Whitney comes to talk to her, and she tells Whitney immediately, "I got Ethan back." Girl, win.
Oh my God. Yeah, I put, the fuck are you talking about? OMG. I wrote those were my notes.
And Whitney's confused. She's like, what do you mean? And then Teresa's like, well, I don't have him back yet. But, now that I'm going to be a VP at Crane. And then Whitney's like, what? What do you mean you're going to be a VP? Yeah. VP of what? She says VP of what? And Teresa's like, doesn't matter. I don't care.
Teresa, instead of like, I came up with a plan. No, she's just like, this has happened already. And it is her manifesting what she's hoping will happen.
Yeah, she's the vice president of fate.
She's the vice president of fate and destiny, the F&D department at Crane Industries. She says she tells her, Alistair gave me a job as a VP, and Ethan, I'm gonna use that power to get Ethan back by giving him back everything that he lost. That because it was my fault that he lost. He's not a Crane anymore. Yada yada yada. Boring. Who cares? Whitney tries to warn her, saying, "You think Alistair gave up power to you for nothing? Like there's gonna be a cost to pay. Yeah. There's got to be some sort of catch." Teresa says, I don't care. I don't care what it is. She's like, I don't care. But this girl made a deal with the devil. So who's Alistair, right? Like she's like, I've dealt with dark consequences before. I can deal with Alistair. That's how she feels about it. I don't think she's correct, but that's where her head is at. Just, Yeah. And then Whitney says to her, sometimes I wish that you and Ethan never met. I wish that you would never come to this mansion to work. Then blah, 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 recap. They recap the whole way that Teresa ended up in the mansion in the first place, how she and Ethan got together, all how they ended up breaking up, the whole thing. They recap it.
And again, she keeps making out points that she's like, if y'all had never met, Ethan would very well still be a Crane right now.
Yeah. She says, you know, maybe. She does say maybe, because there is a world, because that wasn't Teresa's secret, right? Like, she didn't blow that secret up. But she's like, there is a world where he would still be a Crane because he never met you. Yeah. Ugh. And
Whitney also says your brain needs to be donated to science just to see how it works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I am interested in how this girl, how she thinks, her tick. Yeah. What makes her tick? Well, we know what makes her tick, but it's Ethan.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the mental gymnastics that she does.
Yeah.
To come, it's like what's that movie, Doctor Strange, where he can see all the different eventualities.
Yeah.
Like he's like working out. She does that. She's like working out all the scenarios in her mind. Is like, oh, ding, this one has a 90% success possibility, right?
She's Garnet from Steven Universe.
She's Garnet from Steven Universe. I also was gonna say, there was something I just watched. Well, whatever, it's gone. It's gone. My brain is fried.
She's running through so many stop signs here, so many red lights. Like Whitney said, why you need to think logically about it. Why would Alistair put you, someone with at most a high school education, in charge as a VP of an international company unless he wants something out of it?
Teresa,
he has a grudge against you and your family.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Well, Teresa doesn't really, I still think she doesn't really know or understand that he has a grudge against the Lopez Fitzgeralds.
After the faking of the death, I think maybe she thinks Alistair might be on her side.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to do. I don't know how she could think he's on her side. He basically terrorized her, right? Like, that's a horrific thing to do to somebody when you could at least, like when Sheridan faked her death, at least she was in the loop, right? She knew what was going on. He could have looped her in like, hey, this is what we're going to do. But he didn't do that because he wanted to terrorize her, and he wanted to terrorize her family. So yeah, like you said, she should buy a vowel, get a clue girl. And yeah, she's just blowing through, because Teresa's modus operandi is act first, think later, right? Yep. Like she is like, whatever pops into her head, she's very impulsive, and she's gonna do like she is the epitome of going with your gut. You know how they used to tell you when you took a multiple choice test that you should never second guess, you should just go with your gut and just keep going. Mm-hmm. But they also tell you to go back and reread, right? She never did that step. She would never go back and reread like the test and make sure, and check her answers, because she believes in going with her gut. Yeah. When all else fails, C is the answer. No, I was very much a eeny, meeny, miny, mo girl. Like, if I don't know the answer, especially because with me, my I'll say this, not to toot my own horn, but I'm very good at taking tests. I always have been. I actually like test taking. I'm one of those like weird people that likes to take tests. I enjoy it. So anyway, enough about that, please. Oh my God, I said this was gonna be short. My God. So y'all, I have ADHD. I can't do anything quickly, unfortunately. Yeah. All right. And I'm unmedicated. I've been unmedicated for a long time now. I probably should get back on medication. Sorry. Okay. Back to fashions. Back to fashions. You know what you need? You need to go talk to Dr. Russell. Yeah. I want some now, Dr. Russell does need to give me a sedative. I would love some drugs. Some drugs from Eve Russell, please. I'm always going to vie for the more pushing of that button. I love it. I love that sound. She's just a flyer. So happy. So we are way off track. I'm probably gonna cut all of that out. So anyway, at the party. Meanwhile, at the party, Gwen tells Ethan that she's scared. Ethan and Gwen are having a conversation.
And she looks good. Teresa looks good. I mean, again, everybody
Yeah.
looks fantastic because Gwen looks really pretty.
She does.
Teresa looked good, but also Teresa looked like she was wearing a wedding gown.
Oh, I forgot to say that. I wrote in my notes when Whitney goes up to talk to Teresa, Teresa's inexplicably in a wedding dress.
Yeah, it looked like a wedding dress. And I don't know shit about that
wedding
stuff.
dress.
So.
She's in a wedding dress. Okay. This girl's crazy. But
Manifest.
Exactly. If I wear
dress for the job you want.
There it is. And she wants the job of wife of Ethan. But Ethan is telling Gwen, because Gwen says, I'm scared that something will happen to make you, to take you away from me. And he tells her, relax, I love you, and no one and nothing will ever come between us again. Immediately sees Chad and is like, I gotta go over there. Right?
That was Chad. I wrote that down too. Nothing will come between us. See you later. I was like, what?
Yeah, and she's like, well, I'll be waiting. He's like, and then so he reassures her. He's like, I mean it. No one is ever going to take me away from you again. Like nothing. He says, I won't let anyone or anything take you away from me. That's what he says. So anyway, he leaves and she says to herself, I won't let you win, Teresa. I will not let you take Ethan away from me again. Okay. He just told you that nothing or no one was ever going to come between you again. He said that. She doesn't believe it. And this is where, Maria, I take issue with everybody talking about, or not everybody, mostly Maria, saying that Teresa doesn't trust in Ethan's love. Neither does Gwen. Yeah. She doesn't trust Ethan. And she doesn't, she shouldn't. He has not really given her good reason to trust him, right? He's not a trustworthy person. So
again,
I think
Ethan
that argument
is the problem. Ethan is the problem.
Ethan's always the problem. But I just want to say that particular argument of, Teresa shouldn't be with Ethan. He shouldn't choose her because she doesn't trust his love for her. Well, neither does Gwen. Now, like I said, he has not been a very trustworthy person, right? So no, none of us should trust him. He's not trustworthy. Anyway, that's just my little aside. Moving on. That's pretty much it for them until we get to the visions. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to what Karen has been waiting for. Troubled marriages. I guess I could hit my button. Got the button. Yeah, let's get into this. Grace and Sam, and they're at home getting ready to go to the party.
Grace, they're getting ready to do something else.
Yes, girl, please. Again took very limited notes, so go ahead and pick it up.
Thank you. So Sam and Grace are at home. Like you said, they're getting ready for the party. Grace comes in. She's wearing this pretty black dress. She looks good too. Yeah, everyone looks good. I'm going to throw Grace a bone here. And
Sam wants to as well.
Yeah. Yeah. He compliments her on the dress, and she says it's a designer dress that she got at a consignment shop and she had it altered. The second I hear designer dress at consignment shop, you know whose dress that was.
Dorothy Jane Torkelson's.
Yeah, sure.
The Torkelsons.
We'll find out whose dress it is.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Remember that episode?
Wait a minute. The Torkelsons? You're talking about the show, The Torkelsons?
Yeah, do you not remember that episode where Dorothy Jane gets a dress at a thrift shop and it belongs to like the rich popular girl and she calls her out on it like in a horrible way?
Let me tell you something. I don't remember a single episode of The Torkelsons. I only remember the name of the show. When you fucking said it,
I only remember the name.
It like really like hit
Chucky
me about
Lee.
like it hit me like a bag of bricks when you said Torkelson.
Millicent Torkelson, Chucky Lee, Mary Sue, Dorothy Jane.
All right, very sorry. Go on, Karen.
Go for it.
Yeah, so Sam wants to bone Grace. He wants to stay at home and fool around. But she's insisting, like, oh, we need to set a good example for the children. And Sam makes a fair point. He says, well, I think we could set a good example by showing them that their parents are together and happy.
Yeah.
Normal. Yeah.
Yeah. I hate this narrative that Grace is spinning about how they need to set this good example for the kids because y'all have been fucking for the last 20 years, right? Like, I don't know. If it was a sin then, it's a sin now, and what's one sin's not worse than the other. I guess because she didn't know it wasn't a sin, it still was a sin.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know, it still was a sin. So you've already done it. So just keep doing it. And like Sam says, but our kids should see us together. I think that sets a good example for them. So sorry, go ahead.
You're fine. And David is watching all this from the window, spying on them.
Of course.
Ivy calls David at that point, and Ivy wants to know if Sam and Grace are coming to the party. And David says, not so sure if they're going to make it anywhere. And Ivy gets upset. She says, you have to stop them from making love. She wants to be with Sam that night. Grace and Sam, or Sam is all over Grace on the couch. She's sort of fighting it. The doorbell rings at that point. Grace blue balls Sam and gets him to stop kissing her and all that and get the door. David is there. David says, oh, sorry to interrupt. And Grace says it was probably a good thing you did. And
yeah, and it's just then they kind of, I don't know, start to argue in front of David.
Yeah, well,
and Sam is annoyed. He's like, we should not be arguing in front of our op.
All of this is messed up. First of all, David comes in, he's like, I was expecting to get a ride with you. Why? Why would you expect a ride with Sam and Grace?
Catch the bus.
You're not friends.
Pilar catches the bus to the Crane Mansion. So can he.
Yeah.
So can he.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And I was, like you said, they get into an argument, and I was so excited that Sam said what he said because they were talking about Kay. Karen, right? They talk about Kay in this conversation.
I didn't have any notes about that.
Well, that's what the argument, they like start to have this conversation about like how they're not supposed to like be
intimate,
be together because of blah blah blah, and they're like, this is bad example for Kay, like Kay's already trying to break up like Miguel and Charity, and Sam wisely's like, hey, we shouldn't be having this conversation in front of David, to which she says, he's my legal husband. But he's not Kay's dad, lady.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
He's my legal husband to your actual real husband that you are in love with is insane.
That's not Kay's dad. He doesn't get to listen in on these family conversations?
And after he had his hands on Kay, left marks on her arms. He would still be rotting in a cell if it were me, but that's not me. And Sam's bad at his job, so. And Grace defended him and whatever. He's just always trying to keep Grace happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So they have that argument, and then he says, well, Sam's like, what about the annulment, right? And Grace then asks David how the annulment's going, and doesn't that happen?
Yes. And David said he hasn't heard anything about it, but he'll check on it in the morning. And then Sam hops in and he says, well, I'm going to get involved in this if I need to.
Why aren't you involved in it? Why is Grace?
Karen Smith, Esquire. Shouldn't both of these people be able to access the annulment proceedings or procedures? I don't know how this works.
I don't know a lot about that area of law, but I assume Grace and David would be able to, since Sam isn't a party to the marriage. I don't think he would be able to, but I can see how
Well, that's
Maybe
my
he
thing.
could at least call the court and say, hey, what's the update on this? How?
Or Grace,
Those
right?
are public filings or something,
Or
right?
Grace should be able to
That's
exactly
my thing.
this.
Why the fuck is Grace asking David how the annulement's going? Why don't you fucking know? Why don't you know where you are in the process of the annulment of your marriage? That drove me up a wall. Sam's asking her for an update, and she has to ask David for an update on their annulment. Doesn't make any sense.
See, this is my bias talking some probably, but when she said the thing about, oh, it's probably a good thing that David interrupted her and Sam, I thought that's interesting. And then this thing about her apparently not being involved with what's going on in the annulment, I think that's interesting too. Is she subconsciously doubting who she's supposed to be with? And
it's not even subconscious at this point. It's conscious.
Yeah.
It's not even subconscious. It is
blatant.
Fully conscious and blatant. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It really is. I'm sick to death of Grace.
Yeah.
I'm sick of her.
We're all team Ivy here. I think it's very clear. Now, well, I know Ivy does stuff that we don't condone, but I am rooting for the girl when it comes to getting Sam Bennett.
It's the Charity K conundrum, right? Like,
yeah,
where K is clearly the bad guy. Like, K is clearly the villain, but you still kind of root for her. She's more interesting. She's more dynamic. She is a go-getter. Just like Ivy. Ivy's more interesting. Ivy's more dynamic. Ivy is a go-getter, and that's more interesting to watch. It's something to latch onto as a viewer. Whereas Grace doesn't have anything to latch onto, because who would latch onto this nonsense? Who I don't find her interesting. I find her moronic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grace is moronic.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, she's... Yeah, we're Team Ivy at this point.
Good.
So, well, and that's something that my mom would always say about Charity and Grace, is that ellas no tienen chiste. So she would say, like, they don't have anything that's fun or exciting or, like, flavorful. Like, there's nothing exciting about this person. And so she would always say about particularly both Charity and Grace. And so that's why another reason why you root for the other women that are vying for their people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after all the annulment stuff, they all go to the party. Ivy greets them there. Yes.
Yes. And Ivy corners David, pulls him aside. She's concerned that Sam and Grace slept together, but David says, no, I stopped them. It's okay. And Ivy, I think, says something along the lines of,
I have to say the line.
So do I.
I wrote it. Because this is part of this is absolutely the episode title.
Yeah.
Sam
Ivy,
Ivy says, good. She's glad that they didn't have sex. And she says, Sam is a very sexual creature. He won't be able to remain celibate for long.
Yes.
You just stall them until I can get him back into my bed. Sam is a very sexual creature has to be the episode.
Bow, bow.
Yeah.
I loved it. I have that highlighted in my notes.
Hilarious. Sam is a very sexual creature.
I need to get that clip. I gotta find that damn clip of Rebecca going, Sam is a hot tea.
He is. Oh, he's fine as hell. And she said he's very sexual. I love that. Yeah. He's a very sexual creature.
Ivy is ready. Ivy is ready.
Ivy's been ready for the last 25 years.
She has. So she tells David to stall until she can get Sam in her bed. Rebecca comes over at that point and she says hello to Sam and Grace. Keep in mind, Ivy had been talking with Sam and Grace. There was no mention of the dress Grace was wearing.
Right.
Rebecca comes in and she says, hey, Grace, that dress looks familiar. And then she says, oh, I remember that dress because Ivy wore it to a White House dinner a few years ago.
Yep.
And then Ivy comes back in and she is nice about it. She says, oh, it's a lovely dress, Grace, and it looks better on you than it did on me.
So again, this is where I wrote the Dorothy Jane Torkelson reference, because that there is an episode where they were a poor family. If nobody ever watched the Torkelsons on Disney Channel, and of course it had like a
Now
spin-off.
I just remember that show.
Yes, so she has a pink dress. Dorothy Jane wears it to the dance, but her mother, Millicent, sews this really pretty pink like bow flower onto it because it had a huge shoe polish stain on it. And the rich girl who owned the dress before goes up to Dorothy Jane and rips it off and says, "That was my dress. My brother dropped shoe polish on it." And for those of us who watch the Torkelsons, that is an iconic, again, the show lasted like one season and then a spin-off season, but it's an iconic, it's just like so sad that this girl like has nothing, and they bought her this dress for this dance, and then this woman humiliates her, which Ivy does not do.
Rebecca tried to, but Ivy doesn't let her, because it would look bad to Sam. If she thought that Sam would never find out that she humiliated Grace, she would absolutely do it, right? If she thought he wasn't going to find out, she absolutely would have done something like that or worse. I mean, she's already drugged Grace, right? She does not give a shit about Grace, but it makes her look good to Sam, right? That she saw the dress, she didn't say anything about it, and then was so gracious about it after the information came out that basically that was Ivy's dress. Yeah, so she she's getting scoring some points with Sam tonight.
Yep, that's her goal.
Yeah.
And David and Ivy have an aside again, and he says what you just said, Latara. He says, "That was for Sam's benefit, wasn't it?" And Ivy says, or I don't know if those were my notes or what Ivy said, but I wrote, "Of course it was."
Yeah. No, I think she did, because again, she says the beautiful note is like, it looks far better than it does on you. And then she looks at Rebecca and she goes, "Not every woman has good taste." So I do like, not only did she look good in this process, but she also jabbed at Rebecca. But yeah, she totally was doing that on purpose. Like she knew, but also like, what a fun coincidence, because that is not Ivy didn't plan that. She didn't put that dress in front of Grace. Like, this was definitely
it's fate.
Like, yeah.
And this is interesting too, Latara. Like you were talking about the Whitney and Simone thing earlier. Grace is taller than Ivy. So how
that's right. That's
one
right.
of Ivy's gowns.
Maybe she had it taken in. I don't know how they had time, because this party just got started like 2 days ago, or no, hours ago they planned the party. Truly,
we planned this party and everybody got dressed
time
up
to go shopping
in there. Teresa's carrying on the Mrs. Crane tradition of throwing a party within hours and forcing everybody to show up.
Yeah, she calls herself last minute Teresita.
In black ties, last minute. She's so Ivy goes to the library and finds letters from that she sent to Sam. It's magic. This is magic, but we're gonna talk about it a little bit right here. Go for it.
Yeah, but before that, Ivy tells David, "I always get what I want one way or another." Grace goes to be a bitch to Kay. We'll talk about that later.
Yes.
And Sam is standing across the room and he looks at Ivy. It was supposedly a very lustful look. I personally didn't think so. I don't know what you guys think. And Ivy says to David, "Sam hasn't looked at me that way in years. My plan is working."
Yeah, I didn't see it. I felt like it was delusion. It was Sam. It was like Simone level delusion.
Yes, there was a disconnect there for me. I agree. Maybe she saw Sam look at her like a person again, but there was not like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, wow, he sees that I'm not a bad person anymore. Maybe that's what he hasn't looked at her in a really long time about, but there was no sexual, it was not sexual in nature.
Yeah. He does come back over to Ivy after that. Sam does. And I remember last week, Ivy cut her hand with a piece of glass on purpose to keep Sam from leaving the Crane mansion.
Yeah.
And Sam comes over and takes her hand and asks her how the cut is, and she says it's okay. And he thanks her for being nice to Grace about the dress situation. And he says, "That reminds me of the Ivy you used to be."
Yes.
And she says, "I'm still that same person. I've just gotten a lot of bad press."
She is.
She gave
so
her so
smooth.
bad press.
Yeah.
So that's really it for them until we get into the magic stuff.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk very quickly about Julian and Eve. So after Eve has her little argument with TC wherein he walks away from her saying, I don't need to hear this, when she's just telling him the truth. She's in Julian's office and she's like thinking about it, musing about it, like, oh, TC, why can't you see what you're doing? And Julian comes in and sees her there, immediately starts coming on to her, right? Which is what Julian does. However,
everybody's super horny in these episodes. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well,
it was.
Yeah.
He comes on to her. She then tells him to fuck off. She's like, no.
But
Get away
you're
from
in
me.
his library going to read a book during a party. Like, like she picked up a book and was just
That's
like,
loser behavior.
I guess Ivy's
Nerd alert. Nerd alert.
yeah.
That's
I
so
was like,
funny.
what is she doing? It was obviously to just get her alone so that Julian can have a private conversation. But in terms of like her character, she was just like, fuck this party and go read a thesaurus. Like, what are you doing?
Well, he comes in and interrupts her reading, and you know, he does
Great
this
banter.
normal little banter thing first.
Yes. But she was
then,
just hip with it. She was just like, whatever.
yeah, and then Julian becomes very earnest.
Mhm.
And he tells her, you know, I've done a lot of soul searching recently with all my adventures and all of this stuff.
She's basically talking about Timmy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he tells her that he realized that he should have stayed with her.
Yeah.
And she seems a little caught off guard by this. And he tells her, I mean, again, he was just so sincere and earnest with her. He says, you know, I simply wanted you to know. Now she tries to cut him off and says, I know what you want, because she thinks he's trying to like fuck her, which he kind of is, but he also I think is being genuine here. I think at first he was doing his like just regular old sleazy Julian thing, but then he was like, you know what, this is the perfect time to tell her how I feel, like what I've been thinking about.
Because again, in terms of what he has gone through, his life has definitely flashed before his eyes. He doesn't know if he's going to get back to the Crane Mansion, and you have to ask yourself, where did it all go wrong? Like, where did it all go wrong? And for him, this will always be a sticking point.
Yeah, that was definitely him not standing up for Eve against his father. Absolutely is a turning point in Julian's life, right? So she doesn't really want to hear it. Mm-mm. And Julian you can tell he's a little bit hurt because he was really being open and honest with her, which is something that Julian does not do. Julian does not do honesty.
Yeah,
right?
Because he said, I did some soul searching, to which she goes, soul? Like implying like you'd have to have one to be able to do that. Yeah.
At one point she makes a crack about him like, maybe you should tell Father Lon again. And he's like, yeah, confess.
Yeah.
But she kind of blows him off, and he seems kind of hurt by this because he really was being open with her, being honest with her, and being vulnerable with her. But you know what? I don't feel bad for Julian. I don't. Oh, no. He got the reaction he deserves based on his past actions with Eve.
And again, it's been a minute since we've seen the two interact with each other. So
yeah.
So to catch up, viewers, right? Like, this is not like they would definitely be on good speaking terms.
No, God, who doesn't know that they're on bad terms?
I'm just meaning like anybody. Oh, please, I know. I'm just saying like anybody who has not been here for a minute. They're trying to remind you, like, these two are butting heads. Yeah, that's what I meant. So,
sorry. I was like,
man, you will come the day I am wrong on this show. You're gonna come for me.
That's not true. Okay, so he does tell her. He pretends to laugh it off. He's like, and he kind of. It's so interesting. Ben Masters is such a wonderful actor because you see the earnestness in his eyes turn off, right? Like he's being earnest, then he starts to he laughs it off, and he says, you know what, Go back into Julian mask mode. Go back into, you know,
it's not working. Yeah.
But he does tell her honestly that she was the best thing that ever happened to him. And then they just recap the events.
And I'm happy
past.
you said that, because I thought about the same thing. I was remembering what Mackenzie Westmore said about enjoying working with him, because when she did the slap, I thought, I bet you she had fun doing that with him, like that they got along. And so then here again, I'm watching these two actors are really good together, and I love when Julian and Eve are together. Like, I just think that sparks fly in terms of acting, and so for you to say that, I'm very appreciative that you did that.
I will say too, they make TC so heinous and terrible that you really, really root for Eve to get back together with this horrible man, Julian.
Yeah.
TC's so heinous. I'm like, this man is a billionaire and he wants you. But at the same time, you have to deal with the family. Like that's a whole other thing.
Well,
and y'all's history and your backstory. Yeah.
And that's the part of the recap that she says, how would it have been? You really think Alistair was going to enjoy having a black Mrs. Crane? And then that's when she brings up, if
they never say black. They only ever say African American.
I know. Yes, she did. Yes. Thank you for correcting me, because when I watched the episode, I went, I've had black friends tell me, we don't say that. Like, again, there's black panelists on here. You can tell me if I'm wrong. But my friends have always been like, we're all going to say black.
I don't say African. I don't call myself African American.
Yeah.
I'm not offended if somebody else calls me African American. It's just like, I know you're not really down. Like, I just know, you know what I mean? Like, you call me African American, it's like, I know you and I aren't actually friends. Like, you know, or it's like, you know, I'm in some kind of weird corporate. It feels very corporate to say African American.
What's funny is it's so funny to me that they draw the line there, but I have nothing but racist jokes being aimed at the Lopez Fitzgerald on the other side.
Listen, the God's honest truth is, at that point in time in the 2000s, right? You can't get on TV saying crazy. Well, and listen, I'm not saying that the racist stuff that they say, like the racist kind of remarks that they make about Hispanic people and culture, are right or correct. Now, I will say they did do a lot of racist shit with Chad.
Yes, they did. I was just thinking that when you were talking,
as kind of their like lower class black man that they could, you know, hurl all the stereotypes and insults at. But also at that time, like, you can't get on TV and start talking crazy about black people.
And again, and they are still doing stuff with like the TC character. I mean, like tropes and stuff like that. Yeah, and
it was bad enough, but it's like black people had gone through so much in this country and worked so hard and dealt with so much truly heinous racism, that if you got on TV and started like throwing around slurs, your show's not gonna be on the air for very long.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But people were more tolerant, and the thing about the stuff with the like Hispanic and Latin stuff, it was all like they were trying to make it a joke.
Yes.
Right. And so back then, unfortunately, those were like the kinds of things that could pass. They don't pass anymore. Yeah. But they used to pass. And that's very evident in this show. It really is. But yeah, these two people, Eve and Julian, are talking about how, you know, Alistair would never want a African American Mrs. Crane, and they just recap everything that the baby died. And then they get to the son.
Yeah, then that's when they talk about the son.
Eve says, do you really think our baby died? Because I believe that Alistair had our baby stolen. And Julian says, I wouldn't put it past him. He's like, it definitely sounds like something my father would do. Hey, Mouse is back.
And he said it would truly be wonderful. He said it would be wonderful because they said, what if our baby's still out there? She says she has a vision. She talks about the vision. And he goes, you know what? A part of me would think that that's absolutely wonderful. And he's like, but what would happen to you if that son came back? Which I thought was an incredible point. That
whole little, you know, exchange was interesting because Julian says, part of me thinks it would be wonderful if our son reappeared. But realistically, if he does come back, what will happen to you in your life? She says, well, TC would kill you. And he says, and what would he do to you? I like that. I love that he specifically said, because saying that her son coming back into her life would like blow up her life, what would that do to your life is one thing, but saying specifically, what would TC specifically do to you? After having her having said TC would kill him, and he's like, yeah, and what would TC do to you, right? I think he might lock you up in his murder shed. I don't know, right? So it was very interesting. He says to her, our son could destroy your entire family. Then TC bursts in. He's like, what the hell are you doing in here with my wife? I told you to stay away from my family.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
And then he and Eve leave. And it is like, this is, like you said, this is his house.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is Julian's
Why do you
house.
guys come if you don't like him?
Yeah, what are you doing in my house? Number one. Number two, she's literally not at where she's supposed to be. She's in a restricted area of the home.
Yeah.
She's not in the party area. So talk to your wife. Why are you yelling at me? But Julian does not have the guts to talk to TC like that. And frankly, I wouldn't either. I would just talk shit about him to the party guests. That man, that man came in and busted in on us talking about, what are you doing with my wife? I was just talking to the bitch. Damn.
I was like, why'd you pick out, what book are you checking out of my library?
Yeah.
Maybe she's doing some medical research. Maybe Julian's got Grey's Anatomy in there, other medical books.
Oh, I see you have the book Seduction to Sedative.
Okay. Now, y'all, it's time to move into magic. Oh, shit. I just knew that was the right button.
I did like one of Eve's lines at the end of her talk with TC and Julian. Julian is staring at Eve from across the room, and Eve says to herself, I guess, she says, why do I come to these parties? Something bizarre always happens. Truthfully. And now we're moving into the bizarre. Okay, y'all, we're gonna very quickly, I'm gonna talk about Kay and Miguel, and then what happens with Reese and Tabitha and them coming to the party. And there is a certain point in my notes, Eric, where literally I wrote, Eric can take it from here. Okay, so I'm gonna speed run my notes, and then when I get to that note, you got it. Okay, it's all you. So Kay and Miguel go to the party. Kay tries to force him to have a good time, but he's not having it. Zombie pops up, randomly spikes Miguel's drink with some whiskey, hides the bottle inside of Kay's purse. Why is her purse just sitting on this drink table? I don't know, but it is. So the zombie puts a bottle of whiskey in there. Also, I thought the zombie was a fucking ghost. Why can she do anything? But doesn't matter. We're speed running. It doesn't matter. We're speed running. Grace then shows up. And Miguel takes like a sip of his drink. And he notices something's off about it, but he doesn't know because he's so fucking innocent. He can't tell that his drink's been spiked. And so Grace is about to get a drink or whatever. And he's like, oh, here, I only took one sip out of mine. You can have mine. No, thank you. One too many.
Your backwash.
Yeah, one sip is one too many, but he hands it to her. And she drinks after this teenage boy for some reason. And then she takes a sip and she's like, oh my God, this has alcohol in it. Did you spike your drink, Miguel? And Miguel's like, no way. I would never touch alcohol, Mrs. Bennett. I'm not even of age. And then she looks at Kay and she's like, Kay, did you spike Miguel's drink? Miguel like walks away. So he's not even here for this. And Kay, who truly is innocent, was like, no, I would. What you really think the worst of me, huh? But yes. Grace picks up her purse and sees the bottle of liquor inside, so she's caught red-handed, basically. And Kay's like, I did not do it. And so they, argue. It doesn't matter. Kay walks away from her. She's like, you don't believe anything I say. Actually, Grace specifically says that to her. It's like, how can I believe a word you say based on how you've been acting? And here I caught you red-handed and you're still lying to me. Oh, okay. So Whatever. Moving on. Let's talk about Reese. Reese goes to pick up Kay, who's already at the party. Reese goes to Kay's house to pick up Kay. Kay is already at the party with Miguel. Jessica got left at home. Kay's gone with Miguel. Grace and Sam and David went to the party together. Left Jessica by herself at the house.
She was supposed to be watching the B&B.
Yeah, she had to show up late because she had to work late.
Jessica's the Meg of the fucking Bennett family.
She is the Meg of the family. So Reese shows up in his dad's brand new sports car, and it's so nice. And he's really excited to show it off. And he gets there, and Jessica comes out, and she's like, "Oh, you're here to pick up Kay? Kay's already gone. She went to the party with Miguel." And so first he's like, "Why would she go to the party without me? Go with Miguel. Oh, you know what? She's probably just trying to keep Miguel, make some company. She's such an angel. She's such a good girl." Jessica, whatever, goes with it. She's like, "You're so stupid, but you're so cute. So I'm gonna just hang in there." And so then they start to have a conversation about Tabitha and Timmy, and he says how he feels guilty about how he treated Timmy when Timmy was alive, and also how he, by extension, how he treated Tabitha, thinking that they both had anything to do with evil. He specifically says, that little boy was the furthest thing from evil. And so then there's some stupid ass talk about two sisters who are in love with the same boy. Nothing comes of it. We're not going to talk about it here. Then Tabitha is inside of her house, and Cracked Connie is attacking her. Okay, we're just picking up where we were last week. Just remember that the Cracked Connie came to life and she started to attack Tabitha. That's where we are. So she's like choking her. She's chasing around. She's throwing fucking furniture. This fucking doll is like She-Hulk in doll form. Like, she's so strong, it's ridiculous. And so she's chasing Tabitha around. Tabitha's hair is all a mess, everything. She starts screaming for help. She sees Jessica and Ross outside the window. She's like, "Jessica, Ross, help. But they do not hear her. And then Connie chokes like the daylights out of Tabitha, just choking the shit out of her. And so, or so she thinks. She thinks she successfully basically killed Tabitha, but Tabitha plays dead. She plays possum, and then she attacks. Does a counterattack, and she catches Connie and throws her across the room, says, "You fiendish little freak," and throws her across the room. And they just keep doing battle in her house, trashing it.
I'll give you a wall banger.
Yeah. And then Jessica and Ross come a-knocking because they do eventually hear the commotion. They're like, "What the hell is all that noise? It's coming from Tabitha's house. We better go check on her." So they go. And they knock on the door. This was weird to me. I didn't understand this because Tabitha had called for their help. But then Connie threatens her, and it's like, you better get rid of the kids or else I'm gonna kill you. It's like, well, you already trying to kill me.
But also Tabitha has her powers. Why is she not using them?
Oh, thank you.
I can understand where you have been so many years worth of not having your powers, or your brain's just gonna go like fight or flight or whatever, but she's got her powers. So I don't know why she's not doing it up against this Chucky doll wannabe, to which she called her. Yeah.
Which is exactly what she is. You are absolutely right. Why isn't she using her powers? That is maddening.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny because the kids are knocking on her door, and at first I thought, okay, at least they're knocking this time. But then they continue pounding on the door and they're like, "It's locked." I say, okay, this is the only reason they're not just straight up barging in her house without even knocking, because they do that to her all the time.
That's so true. They usually just come right in, don't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, she tells her to get rid of the kids, and Tabitha agrees for some odd reason. I do not know or understand it. So when Tabitha goes to the door, she tries to keep them from seeing inside. She's a mess. Her hair's a mess. And she tries to get rid of the kids. She says, they push past her and see what a mess her house is. And she basically says, she's just been going through a lot, and it's the grief, and, she just is having a hard time. And they give her grace on that. They're like, yeah, you know what? Whatever's going on in here, that's your business. But then they invite her to the party. They're like, "You should come to the party with us tonight, Tabitha." Ross then apologizes to Tabitha, saying that he was wrong about her and wrong about Timmy. She appreciates his apology. he wasn't wrong about her, but she appreciates the apology.
To which she says, I don't hold a grudge against you, Ross.
Yeah, she's still refusing to call him Reese. He does not bring it up. He usually corrects her, but he doesn't this time.
Yeah.
So at this point, Connie goes outside, gets in Reese's car, and apparently zombie
meets her outside with the keys.
Yeah, zaps into the car with her and is like, I've got the keys. And so then they drive off to the party together.
To the song Highway to Hell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on a highway to hell. Yeah, true.
I love when we get some licensed music. It makes me happy.
Yeah, listen. That's why I listen. That's why I've been watching on Facebook now instead of on YouTube, because they have like the full episode with all of the music and like the music that I remember, not that random Canadian shit. No offense to any of the Canadians, but the episodes that were on Super Channel, which is like a Canadian thing apparently, the music in that is terrible. They didn't license the music. What were you about to say, Karen? I'm so sorry.
I was just going to say, I thought one of Reese's lines was really good when he was talking with Jessica about how he felt bad for calling Tabitha a witch and thinking she and Timmy were evil. He says, there's no way Timmy was evil, because what greater good is there than keeping another person alive? I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, they talk about how wonderful it is to be an organ donor and what a beautiful choice that is. Yeah, that was a nice little moment. Okay, so Connie and zombie steal the car.
Charity.
He hears the car going off. They run outside. He gets out there just enough time to see Connie driving his car. He's like, it was a doll. A doll was driving my car. And then we get back into the rigmarole of like, you're a witch, Tabitha. That was a doll. Da da da. And then he's like, Jessica talks him down. He's like, you know what? I'm sorry. You're right. Like, but I do know what I saw was a doll, but maybe Tabitha didn't have anything to do with it. And Tabitha's like, yeah, what the fuck? I didn't have anything to do with that. I'm here. Why would my doll take your car? I'm still here. No. And then Tabitha agrees to take them to the party. She's like, I'll drive us to the party. We'll all go to the party. She goes, gets changed, looks fabulous. And then they go off to the party. And truthfully, Eric, you can take it from here.
Sir, first of all, I got to tell you, to quote the Golden Girls, take a lesson, Rose. That's how you tell a story. What you just did was masterful. I'm thinking that people are driving and listening or commuting, and they probably like, did I hit ×2 or 3 on the podcast? But that was fantastic.
I can do it when I really put my mind to it. I can do that.
That was incredible. Well, a tour de force. Tabitha is dressed really well. She does look like one of those rainbow dust feather dusters. She's got all these like frilly little things around. She does get over to the mansion, and she's like, well, what could possibly, like, where would Cracked Connie go? Like, I don't, she's like, she's trying to cause evil, so what would it be? And she's like, it can't be, right? There's just no way that she would go down to this one particular place. Just a reminder, I don't know the rules behind zombie ghost charity. I don't know. This is really annoying and drives me crazy, because when she spiked can anybody see her? Does she look like Charity? I think she's a ghost. So I have questions about all of that. With that said,
she had to be invisible because she was walking around in plain sight. There were plenty of people there who could have seen her. No one said anything. You know, if Miguel saw her, he'd be all over her.
Yes. Well, she's supposed to be in the hospital. Yeah.
She has to be invisible. She's popping in and out everywhere. Yeah. So.
Now, with all of that said, Tabitha starts to kind of figure everything out. She's like, where would I go? Where would I go? She runs into Julian. They reminisce about their sexual escapades. The brick house is played again. He does say, Tabitha, I haven't been able to get you off of my mind since it happened. And she's like, well, yeah. What's funny is he advances on her similar to Eve. And she doesn't say no either. She's just like, maybe another time. She's just like, I got stuff to do. And he's like, oh, you're playing hard to get. I really like that. He gets swept away by the mariachis. They do carry him off. And so again, she's like, where would she possibly go? And she finally deduces, she's like, oh shit. Did she go down into Hecuba's lair? Ladies and gentlemen, she's back. Hit it, Latara.
Oh my God, I wasn't ready.
Robin Strasser returns as for a short stint as Hecuba. Cracked Connie has made her way down into the lair. She knocks something over, and to which we hear, "Who dares disturb me?" Hecuba is the queen of evils. If y'all don't remember her, she is the reason for the Hell House. Well, really, it's Kay, but Hecuba is the Tabitha's biggest rival, and so and she is still trapped inside the bottle that Tabitha and Timmy put her in. She is in the basement, but she is appearing a la hologram. She talks about.
I'm sorry. Can you tell us? Do they explain why or how that's happening?
She says basic. I'm assuming they do not. The reason I can they don't.
The short answer is no.
Yes. Now, what I assume is that Hecuba can still see a lot of things that are happening. Remember when she was bobbing in the sea, she had a TV and was watching everything. So I do think she's aware of what's happening. I also do think because Cracked Connie entered her lair, she's able to appear that way. But she does say, she says, I'm Hecuba, the queen of evil. Karen alluded to this. Cracked Connie's catchphrase is la-di-da. Hecuba responds, "Why, you insolent little twerp, if I weren't trapped in this bottle." She says, "You can't see it, Bimbetta. This is a hologram. And all of this is my magic cavern." And she says, "Trust me, I'm going to get back at Tabitha for this." She's like, "How do you know her?" She's like, "Oh, you must be her new doll. Well, when I get out of here, I'm going to have your empty little braided head on a platter." And she's like, "Why? I didn't do anything to you." She's like, "Because you're her new dolly. You see, it was her old doll Timmy who helped her trick me in here. So you'll just have to pay for what he did." What's funny is you think I have these written down. I'm pretty much well memorized in these episodes because
he's off book, people.
I had this on VHS. He had a VHS and he would put it and record over it over and over and over again. Not this one, baby. I went and bought a brand new dollar store VHS for so I could keep this one, and that was one that I had, and I would play it over. She says, she does say, "Oh yes, I see you're different, but trust me, whatever you are no match for me, because I am more evil than anyone could possibly be. I have broken more hearts. I have destroyed more lives. I have." And she's just like, finally, like, "I did not come down here to hear your whole resume. I came to start some trouble." She's like, "Oh, the assertive type. Oh, yes, I like that. But don't you get cocky with me. I think we can help each other. You want to inflict evil and create suffering. Well, I have the perfect way." Finally, Tabitha goes running down there and she hears all of this. She's like, "If you help me, I'll help you. You need to go down to Tabitha's basement and find that bottle and set me free. And I will help you."
Explain why Tabitha couldn't go into the lair. I'm so sorry.
She doesn't. She keeps trying to get. Well, first of all, she's eavesdropping, and she's like, "Fuck! I knew she was gonna come down here." She has her powers. I could write this shit. I could make rules as to why it's Hecuba's enchanted, but she's been in that lair before.
That's why I'm confused.
So they don't. Yeah, they don't do that. She keeps trying to move this rock that's basically acting as a door.
How was Connie supposed to able to get in there, but Tabitha isn't?
Exactly.
And it used to be, there wasn't like a tunnel. It was like literally a secret door that turned, and she was in the in the lair.
It is in the basement of the Crane Mansion, and she would go. There was a couple times when Hecuba's been gone where she went over to go grab something. So she's been in this building before.
Yeah, she's been in the lair multiple times at this point. Yeah.
So with that said, she tells Cracked Connie, "If you help me, I will help you cause pain and suffering," because that's what Cracked Connie wants to do. So she says, "Do we have a deal?" She's like, "I'll help you do all of this if you go and set me free." She says, "Well, what can you do? If you're in a bottle and you're this powerful, like, why would I listen to you?" She's like, "Listen, I'll give you a free sample, basically." And she's like, "Over there is a bottle pre-mixed, ready to go. It'll cause incredible pain and suffering." She's like, "Well, what is it?" She says, basically, what this spell is going to do is going to give the people of Harmony the opportunity to see what their lives would have looked like if they made different or major choices. So they could see the alternative of what their life would have been had they made different choices. To which Tabitha responds, she's like, do not open that bottle. She thinks this is going to be the worst thing ever. She's like, do not open that bottle. And I wrote this down, and I remember this, but it just I had to make sure I got it verbatim. She's like, there are other ways to be evil, Connie. Be a lawyer. Work for the IRS. But whatever you do, do not take Hecuba up on this offer. Yes, she writes. She has a little R on the end of Hecuba. Yeah. Be a lawyer or work for the IRS. Tabitha is correct.
Not with Karen here. Don't say that.
Oh, well, there are exceptions, just like Glinda the Good Witch.
No.
Hey, there are bad doctors too, like a certain Dr. Russell.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, so she just says, what is it going to be? Cracked Connie, have we consummated a contract? Tabitha finally gets inside. She's trying to convince Connie to do it. She fakes her out and is like, yeah, I think you're right. I shouldn't do this. And she smashes the bottle. So this green smoke is going, and it's going to affect all the people of Harmony. So this is where I know you all will help me, because it's going to mess with all of the storylines. To start off, first of all, Tabitha's freaking out because it's going to affect her first. Hecuba tells her to go to heaven, which I thought was a very funny
that was funny.
I like that too.
And her vision is of Sister Mary Tabitha Lennox. So her hell on earth would be that she was a nun. And I wrote down specifically her hell on earth would be that she was forced to spend time with Father Lonning.
Yeah. So the green potion, just to be clear, as clear as we possibly can be with the information we were given by Passions, the green potion is supposed to show people what their lives would have been like, right? Woulda, shoulda, coulda is what she kept saying. Like, if you had done this, what would your life look like? If you had made this choice, if you make this choice going forward, what would your life look like, right? And so, Tabitha, if she had chosen to be a nun, I guess, or if she had chosen not to be evil, she would have become a nun, right? So then we get into all of these visions. Everybody's in town's about to be affected. So we got Tabitha first. And it is unclear to me how what validity we are meant to put into these visions. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. If this is what people want to have seen, you know what I mean? Or
I think yes.
Or
and
there
is evil on top of this. Like, it is definitely gonna fuck with your head. I think that's the whole point.
It's hard for me to tell if this is like canon. I think is the point. Is like, if they had made these choices, this is exactly how things would have turned out.
I don't think this is
like something that Hecuba has kind of manipulated to work to her best advantage, right?
I think it is definitely it is what you just said, but with a twist of evil. Like, it is definitely going to skew the way to hurt the person or make the person do something.
What's going to make
try and manifest this thing?
What's going to make the most kind of like chaos? What's going to create the most chaos? Okay. Because I was trying to figure out what's the best way to look at these visions. What's the lens I'm looking at these visions through, right? Is this real or is this Hecuba's version? And I think we're going with is Hecuba's version, right? And what's going to make the most chaos. So let's do the first vision. Sheridan. Does Antonio get this vision? So most of the people get visions in pairs, but Sheridan is the only one who gets her vision. Antonio doesn't get this vision, and Luis doesn't get a vision either. I guess
because Antonio sucks.
He does. So, what? Go for it.
No, I was just gonna say yes. This vision happens while Sheridan's talking to Gwen. So this is like Gwen is asked. Like, all of this is all set up in soap opera mode, where they're all talking about what would have happened to prepare us for these visions. And Correct. So Sheridan does get a vision of basically she's 12 years married into their relationship with Antonio. Yeah. Which, again, the math is not mathing. I do not understand how Sheridan and Antonio would have ended up together.
No.
He's gone.
Yeah.
He left before she met Luis.
This vision is if he had made a different choice.
Oh.
right?
But then why isn't he getting it? Because it's Sheridan's vision.
If he had stayed in harmony, maybe this would have happened, but he didn't stay in harmony. So like,
thank you. That math was not mathing for me. I couldn't figure it out.
The math does not math. You're right. The math doesn't math because the vision that we get only works if Antonio had stayed in harmony, but Antonio didn't stay in harmony. So Sheridan gets a vision. She sees a life with Antonio where she met Luis after she met Antonio.
Yeah.
And it's all happy and Luis and Beth are together. They're married. She and Antonio have children together. They're pressuring Luis and Beth to have kids so their kids will have cousins. And it's a lovely vision for her, right? After the vision, she tells Gwen that the vision might be the way that things are supposed to be. If I were with Antonio now, none of us would be terrified of him finding out about me and Luis. What?
She thinks it's a vision from God.
Even talking about. Yeah,
she even goes that far.
Maybe this is a vision. Maybe this vision is sent from God and to tell me that I should leave Luis to save his brother's life. What are you talking about?
No.
Gwen says to her, no, that can't be right. That would devastate Luis. It would devastate Luis to lose you. Sheridan then says, well, it would devastate him if he lost his brother. It would devastate him even more to lose his brother. No, it wouldn't. He hates that guy. He doesn't even like him. He would not be that devastated. He's been missing him all this time. He ain't been around all this time. Like, and he's been trying to tell him the truth. He's like, consequences be damned. I don't want Antonio to die, but if he does, if it be God's will, is how Luis is feeling, right? So she's doing a very Grace thing here that really pissed me off.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it really.
What was funny was at the beginning of her vision, she's laying on the couch and she's asleep. And then Antonio comes over and wakes her up. He's hovering over her. She can't remember who he is. He has to tell her, I'm your husband of 12 years.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
And again, in that vision, Luis and Beth walk in and they've been married. No, they're not married yet. They're supposed to get married.
No, they are married. They've been married.
Oh, kids. They haven't had kids yet. And so they're wanting, why haven't we made Uncle Luis and Aunt Beth made cousins for us? And it's just, they're getting along so well. So it's like a picture perfect thing of why Sheridan should stay with Antonio. Yeah. And that's why I'm saying there's got to be evil in this shit. Because it's just that's bullshit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's her vision. Moving on to Teresa. Teresa sees herself basically as Pilar. Ethan and Gwen. Ethan and Gwen. So
weird to see her in that outfit.
They're all like in their 50s or 60s at this point. Like they're older.
Ethan has a horrible wig on.
And she's in Pilar's like uniform. And weird. Ethan and Gwen come home to the mansion because in this version of events, Ethan's still a Crane. They come home to the mansion where Teresa is their housekeeper. And Gwen goes up to go to bed. Ethan is in the living room and then he has a heart attack. He falls to the ground. And Teresa runs over to him and she says, I'll call for Mrs. Crane. I'll call for Gwen. And he's like, no, I don't want Gwen here. He says, I don't want Gwen here. There's something I need to tell you, Teresa. I should have told you this a long time ago. He says, I love you. I've always loved you, Teresa. If only you and I had met before Gwen and I got married, because you're the one I should have spent my life with. And then she says, if I had only known, because I love you too. I took this job just to be close to you, but you and Gwen seemed so happy and that was enough for me. You were happy with her and I wanted you to be happy. So that was enough for me. And then he tells her, dying, mind you, this scene goes on forever. He's like, yeah, Gwen's a good woman, but as far as true love goes, it's always been you. And then he says, Teresa, can I have one kiss from your sweet lips? And then she kisses him and then he dies. Now, after the vision, Teresa obviously is more determined than ever. This is like,
I was going to say, so what I wrote down in my notes was, kudos, Hecuba, you just added fuel to a raging fire/inferno. Like she totally is like, boom, fate. Nice job, Hecuba. Because now she's like, see, God, look, I'm going to make it happen. If I am not with him, he will regret this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so Now, if Ethan comes up to her and she asks him, did you have a vision? Because I had a vision. He's like, I had a vision too.
I didn't even know he had one.
Well, they just showed us the one vision, and then when they tell us he had it because they talk about it, right?
Usually they'll give us some sense that I didn't see green smoke near him at all. I was confused.
They said everybody's gonna do it. Everybody's gonna be touched. So I just said that's fine. Ethan had the exact same vision that Teresa had. Now, if I'm Teresa and I hear you had the same vision I had, it does feel a lot like fate. It does feel a lot like destiny, right? Like I can completely see why she's like, wow, I think this is from God. Like it's destiny, it's fate. With Sheridan is like, she doesn't have anybody to share it with. Like she was the only one who had the vision. So I'm a little bit more like, that's just your weird subconscious talking. With this one, it's a little bit more, that's crazy. We had the exact same waking nightmare. That's crazy. And, but Ethan tells her the vision doesn't change anything. He's like, yeah, I had the vision, but it's probably because we've been spending so much time together. That doesn't make any fucking sense, but fine. He says, it's probably just because we've been spending so much time together with the baby and it doesn't change anything. And he's like, I got to go find Gwen. And he leaves her. He goes to find Gwen. But Teresa, honey, that she does not care. She is more confident than ever. Like she's happy. Even though he just told her it doesn't mean anything. She's like, little do you know, Ethan.
she got Twitter verified. She's like, no, this is correct.
So now we're moving on to Sam and Ivy. Ivy, go for it. With the letters. Do the letters.
Okay, I'll save your voice this week, Latara. Sam and Ivy meet up in the library. Like Eve, Ivy wanders in the library. For some reason, it's not really clear. Ivy notices this book on the bookshelf that starts to glow, and she's like, what is that? So she goes over there, looks at it, and in the book she finds this old letter that was one of the letters she wrote to Sam when they were still together. He was off on the fishing boat, and she would write letters to him, but he would never write back, and she didn't understand why. And she reads the letter. It makes her sad. She starts crying. Sam walks in at that point. And he's like, what's wrong? You're crying. And she turns her head away. She's like, I'm fine. It's all right. Just go. But Sam stays. He wants to know what's wrong. He won't let it go. And Ivy eventually tells him about the letter. She said, this is one of the old letters I wrote to you that my father intercepted. Sam says he can't understand how her father was so against them being together just because he didn't have a lot of money. Ivy says, he must have known how much I loved you because he read my letters. And they basically talk a little bit about their relationship, about what happened. But Sam winds up saying, well, everything happens for a reason. Ivy doesn't accept that. She says, we would still be together if my father hadn't broken us up. Sam says, I don't think you would have been happy being a cop's wife. And Ivy said, I would have done anything to be with you. I would have been the best wife you could imagine. The smoke starts coming under the door at that point, and Sam acts like he's about to leave and find Grace, but the smoke gets to him and he stays, and they both have a vision of what their lives would have been like if they're together. And it's, I have my issues with it. It's
I was about to say, I didn't love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have issues too. I
Okay.
put cop's wife equals homemaker, like domestic.
Well, it's like she's supposed. To me, what I hated about it was that they basically just put blonde hair on Grace, right?
Yeah.
Like they was like that Ivy would basically be the perfect homemaker, the way that they have written Grace as the perfect homemaker. But Ivy's a completely different woman than Grace, and it just, that woman in that vision that they had as Ivy didn't even ring of Ivy at all, right? Like she didn't have any edge to her. She didn't have any kind of like, I don't know. Not that she didn't have any bite to her, but she wasn't even sultry. Ivy is sultry.
That's what I was
the
gonna
difference
say.
between her and Grace.
The part that excites Sam about Ivy was not in that vision. Like,
No.
they do the. She made a tuna casserole. She already did all the laundry. She clipped
She
all
made
of
a
the
tomato
coupons.
soup cake for God's
Well, there
sake.
we go.
I said, okay, y'all tripping with this. Please. At the very least, that's what pissed me off too. It's like, why the fuck would you have her making a tomato soup cake? At least have her make like a cake that people
The
like,
reverse.
right? Like,
I wanted her to do the reverse. Like, I don't know what the opposite of a tomato
have
soup
her
cake
make like
is.
she makes an
It would be a
incredible
chocolate cake.
That's what I said. Make her. She
Devil's
makes an incredible
food cake.
German chocolate.
My
cake.
devil's food cake is so good.
She makes
Melts
an
in your
incredible
mouth and in your
carrot cake.
pants. Yeah.
You know, she makes an incredible cheesecake. I feel like cheesecake would be a perfect thing that Ivy like. This is what she makes. She makes cheesecake. It's decadent. It's rich. You know,
Yeah.
tomato soup cake. That's wartime poverty shit. I'm sorry. I
In
just
the bunker,
I
opening
love
up
it.
peaches.
Yeah, you're World War II in England. You don't have any food. You have some flour.
rations. We
Yeah,
have
you have
rations.
flour, tomatoes, and cake in the pantry. A scrawny chicken comes up to your house and lays a few eggs. You make a tomato soup cake.
Yeah, but yeah, they get this vision of her being a perfect homemaker, and then Ethan shows up as a cop, and they're just together, a happy family, and it's great. There's no other children in sight, just Ethan.
Yeah.
And then after the vision, Ivy realizes that Sam has had the same vision as her. They like kind of check in with each other and realize, wait a minute, we just had this weird connection and we saw the same thing. And she says that that is proof. That vision was proof that if her father hadn't interfered, then they would have been a happy couple.
Yeah, like Teresa just threw fuel on the fire.
Yeah.
She thinks they would have had a good life together. They would have been happy. Sam tries to deny it. You know, you never would have made it as a cop's wife. This is one of the issues I have with it. If you read Hidden Passions, Ivy was part of the way through college before she and Sam broke up. Maybe she was going to college to get her Mrs. degree, but maybe she wanted to actually have a career. Grace has a career sort of with the businesses she's running, and apparently Ivy was doing the same thing. But why couldn't she do something different? Why couldn't she I don't know. I could picture her as a fashion designer personally, but I mean, like, why couldn't she have her own career? Why did she have to stay at home
There's simply no
and
way.
be a housewife?
There's simply no way Ivy's running a knick-knack shop. Like a B&B, maybe. A knick-knack shop, no, not on your life. I agree. I think that vision of all the visions is the vision I like the least. Because I was like, you just put her in Grace's shoes instead of putting her replacing.
Like, what would it
you know
really
what I
look
mean?
like? Because again, she's the governor's daughter. She has money.
Yeah.
The Winthrops have money, so she
I
wouldn't.
think the idea is that if she had married Sam, she would have been cut off.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
got it.
she wouldn't have had any money.
That's a great
But
point.
she still would have had her rich sensibilities, right? She
Yes,
still would have her
she's-
education. She would still have her
Yeah.
private school education, her college education. She would be more of a
She'd be doing
she would be more of a
something.
Gwen type of character.
Yes,
Right?
a socialite, like doing something, going out there and volunteer.
Yeah.
Like, there's still stuff she would be doing versus
Yeah.
cooking and cleaning all day long, being a
Yeah.
domestic. Which
Well, let's get on to your favorite part, girl. Go on, go. What happens next? They what happened?
Well, I still have a few things to say about the vision because and Sam keeps making these comments when they're talking about the vision along the lines of, you never would have made it as a cop's wife, you never would have fit in my world. Why does she have to conform completely to his world? Why can't they find some kind of in between?
Yep.
If they were that in love, they were planning to get married anyway. Apparently they were finding some kind of mix. They loved each other enough to be together for a year or two. Why couldn't they find some kind of in between? And then she's acting like a housewife, but it's not even like a 2000s housewife. It's like a 1960s housewife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's talking about hanging the clothes on the line. outside and getting all the chores done.
I
I
also
don't know.
wonder if that also is Ivy's idea of what Grace does, right?
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right.
But
So after the vision, we gotta keep. We
Yeah.
gotta.
Okay. So Ivy and Sam are arguing back and forth, and she says, I would have loved a life with you. I would have been the best wife you could have imagined. Sam says, we were so happy. But I think the vision is still, they're not having it anymore, but I think it's still affecting both of them and they're still thinking about it. He says, we were so happy. And Ivy says, we would have been together. We were supposed to be together if it wasn't for my father's interference. Then she touches his chin and she says, I loved you so much, Sam. And he says, I loved you too, Ivy. And they kiss. And then it cuts to Tabitha and Hecuba and Connie watching them, and they're like cackling and they're so excited to see this going on.
Yeah.
And the smoke is still there. The green smoke is still there when their kiss is going on. But then you see what they're seeing with Ivy and Sam, and Ivy and Sam aren't just kissing; they're like making out.
Yes.
I wrote in my notes that they kiss very tenderly. Like it wasn't.
At first.
It was very much like a love kiss. It was not like. It wasn't like this is a mistake. It was very. I felt like Sam had made a decision in that moment, and maybe he was affected by the smoke, what have you. I don't know. I'm sure we'll see more next week, but he very much had melted into, this is my first true love. Maybe he's a Lopez Fitzgerald and never got over his first true love.
Yep.
Right. He's one of Martin's children. Long lost children. One of Martin Ivy's long lost children. They can't keep up with their kids, so I wouldn't be surprised. But
and I want to reiterate, this is partly on Sam. He came in that room. She gave him an out. She told him, I'm fine. You can go. She didn't want to explain to him what the letter was at first.
Yeah.
But he insisted. He stayed.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no manipulation or anything.
Yeah.
It was just, he was like, what's happening here?
Yeah. Yep. So that's all I have. Chad and Whitney don't get a vision. It starts, but then we don't see
it. Yeah. I will say, just again, there are some incredible quips back and forth between Hecuba and Tabitha, so it's really good to see the two of them together again. At one point, Hecuba's bonding with Cracked Connie, and she says, "You don't talk like the other doll. You don't talk like the other one. At least not in the third person nonsense." She's like, "Timmy wants this. Timmy's afraid of that." And again, I know it's a little raw, but at the same point, it is humorous.
It was funny because she was like,
"Yeah." And she's like, bleh. And Tabitha gets super pissed. She's like, how dare you talk about my Timmy that way? At the end, they're looking at the pool of water, and so that's how they're seeing all of this happening. A little train comes out with all of their pictures and it crashes into the pool of water. And then I end all of this with, where the hell is Zombie Charity? Like, there's so much evil and pain happening, but Zombie Charity's not here. I don't even know why she's still here.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm happy she's not here, but like, what a weird way to start the week, or like start these episodes, and then she spikes Miguel's punch and then leaves. Like, it was just weird. But with that said, I'm happy Robin Strasser's back for a little bit longer.
Yeah. All right. So that's it for the episode, y'all. We did it, and it took forever. I thought it would be short. It wasn't.
Never.
I knew it wouldn't be. I said I thought it would be because I literally only have 4 pages of notes, but somehow we stretched it. I did have that whole aside in the middle talking about testing, so I'm gonna cut that out.
The long ones are always the best.
Make it a bonus feature. Deleted scenes.
Yeah. So anyway, where can the people find you, Karen?
I'm Karen, Karen, the number 4 America on Instagram, or look me up on the Discord. I'm Karen on the Discord.
All right. And Eric?
I am Mr. Eric Veda on everything, and I keep getting emails from Grace Bennett from Med Treasures store. And the last one I just got was, why are you aging prematurely? So this bitch is really pissing me off. But I'm getting, and I put it in the Discord, I'm getting these emails.
That was so
from
It was
Grace
so
Bennett.
funny. What was it? It was like a weight loss thing. And I was
Yes!
like,
I'm like,
tomato
great.
soup case.
Yeah.
Tomato soup cake is the best
He-
thing for weight loss. You just take a look at it, you lose your appetite.
Yeah.
The smell alone just puts you off food entirely.
This one says
That's so
swollen
rude of
limbs,
her,
joint
Eric.
pain. Joint pain, inflammation, skin aging. I'm like, Grace, you got a lot of other problems to deal with than me and my aging process.
That was funny. Well, and if you want to find me, catch me on the Patreon, on the Discord, patreon.com/passionspodcast. And with that, you are my passion for life.